Welcome to Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. Thomas West here alongside Ryan Eakin as the first pitch of the ball game is just outside from Sam Green, who gets the start this afternoon for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's a sunny and relatively warm afternoon here at Christie Pitts at Dominico Field. Gianfranco Morello leads things off for the Welland Jackfish, and he hits a ball in the air. This one's to left field, but right in his track is the left fielder who makes the catch. And 2 pitches and 1 out for Sam Green, who was fantastic in his last outing here against Hamilton. That was part of a 4-1 win, 4 innings pitched, just 2 hits allowed. He's looking to continue some of that success.
Well, when you really look at this Maple Leafs lineup and pitching staff, that third spot in the rotation is kind of wide open outside of Angel Castro and Zach Sloan. It's an opportunity for Green in this game. He does have Dylan Jacober behind him and ready to go if need be, but against a tough Jackfish lineup that's tough to strike out and once they get on base and do a lot of damage, it's going to be quite the test for Sam Green, making his first outing, as you said, in a couple of weeks. 3 weeks to be exact.
Sam Green comes into this game with a .527 ERA and 13 2/3 innings pitched, but the bulk of those earned runs allowed coming at the beginning of his IBL career. That was earlier on this season. 15 strikeouts as well in those 13 2/3 innings pitched for Sam Green.
It's Justin Gideon making his Christie Pitts debut as a member of the Jackfish. He came in that big deadline trade that sent Gideon from Hamilton to Welland, and yet another guy in this Jackfish lineup that has some power, but most importantly, a ton of speed.
This one's popped in the air by Justin Gideon. Greg Carrington's coming in. Going out is the second baseman, Grant Tamani, and he can't make the catch. And Grant Tamani filling in for Dan Mara at second base this afternoon.
It didn't look like Carrington really had an idea where that ball was at any point. It gives Justin Gideon another life, and we know the damage Gideon can do in this ballpark and really any ballpark, given only Cleveland Brownlee has more home runs in the IBL this season.
Justin Gideon has had a monster season this year in the Intercounty Baseball League. 11 home runs, still looking for his first as a member of the Welland Jackfish. This one's hit in the air. This one to left field, but just foul. That one was short of home run distance, but hit well down the line. Justin Gideon is 5 for 17 as a member of the Welland Jackfish, which is hitting just over .290, which by Justin Gideon standards this year, it's almost been a slump for him. 7 strikeouts in those 17 at-bats with the Jackfish.
It's a bit different for Gideon, too, in that Hamilton, he was in Hamilton's lineup. He was in that leadoff spot every single game, right? And even going back to his days at Burlington. But now he's in that 2 spot as Brian Essery, the Jackfish manager, wants to keep Gio Morello in that leadoff spot.
Justin Gideon was not only in the leadoff spot for the Hamilton Cardinals, but he was also top 10 in the Intercounty Baseball League in RBIs as well. And just goes to show you how dominant he was on that Hamilton Cardinals team. There's no question that Justin Gideon was the best player on the Hamilton Cardinals team.
Understatement, yes.
And he comes here to the Welland Jackfish, and, I mean, he's still in contention for that honor. But, man, there are some good hitters in this lineup. Justin Gideon flies the ball. This one to center field. Connor Lewis coming in. Jose Venezio going out. It's Lewis who makes the catch on the run, and there's 2 away.
Yeah, to me, there's no question. I mean, we can talk about Sam Cocker, who's now coming up on deck, and Nicholson, who's batting now. At the end of the day, Justin Gideon, to me, is the best player on this Jackfish team. But Nicholson's a guy, too, that he's right up there. I mean, he gets on base. No one has more stolen bases than Brendan Nicholson. And quite frankly, he's on pace to become the all-time IBL stolen base leader for a single season. And what an accomplishment that would be. And the fact that we're even having that conversation in July, is pretty impressive.
38 stolen bases coming into this game for Nicholson, and 2 away from that single season record, but he's got to get on base first. Sam Green looks in. This one's hit on the ground to Jose Venezio, has a tough hop, and he'll throw on to first base to Damon Topley, who makes the catch, and the inning is over. Sam Green gets through less than 10 pitches against a tough Welland Jackfish lineup in the top of the first inning. We head to the bottom half of the bats for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Coming up, this is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Dominico Field on this Sunday afternoon. Jose Venezio leading things off against Wyatt Hummel, the starting pitcher this afternoon for the Welland Jackfish. Wyatt Hummel is a guy who we've seen have a few control issues throughout the season, but holding on to a 5.12 ERA. And we talk about those control issues. He's walked 18 batters in 26 and a third innings pitched, which is not terrible, but 7 of those walks coming against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the start versus them back on May 28th.
Yeah, he's gotten better for sure, but you go back to late May as Venezio fouls one back, 2.2 innings pitched, 3 runs, 7 walks, 1 hit. So the 1 hit's nice, but the 7 walks against any lineup, whether it's 9 innings pitched or 2 2/3, simply way too much. He does that here at Chrissy Pitch. It's going to be a tough night for Wyatt Hummel, but he's had a great season since then, so he's hoping that outing against the Maple Leafs was a one-off.
Yeah, and with that being said, as Hummel delivers, Jose Venezio who takes it inside. He has 37 strikeouts and those 26 and a third innings pitched. So he is a guy who will get you swinging or looking deadly with the strikeouts this season. Jose Venezio does a fantastic job all season of putting the bat on the ball and putting it in play, and he does just that. There's a ground ball to the first baseman. Hummel's going to come over and cover the bag on first base. Jose Venezio knew he was out right off the crack of the bat, and there's one away.
And the other storyline to keep an eye on, quite frankly, is his Chrissy Pitch debut. And we always see sometimes some pitchers come in and you think, oh, they've been playing at Chrissy Pitch for 10 seasons. But some guys can really tell it's their first out. And we saw that with Adam Kahn on Wednesday against the Baycats. The guy just had a nice season, and he, quite frankly, had his worst outing of the season on Wednesday. So we'll see what we get from Wyatt Hummel here in his Chrissy Pitch debut.
So this is the second time in 2 days that the Toronto Maple Leafs and Welland Jackfish are facing each other. First pitch from Hummel is in there for a strike against Justin Mara. Last game was on Saturday night. That was yesterday, a 13-1 win for the Welland Jackfish in a game where the Toronto Maple Leafs only recorded 1 hit.
No question, the Leafs' worst showing offensively of the season. Obviously, they were down guys, Mccaskey, Jordan Castaldo. What a difference it makes having number 5 back in the Maple Leafs lineup.
And Jordan Castaldo is on deck.
And it obviously didn't help that the Jackfish had their ace on the mound, right? Jake Harford now has 9 wins on the season. He leads the IBL in victories, and that's quite the import for the Jackfish for sure.
Hummel's pitch is low and inside, 3-1 now to the power hitter and guy who's second in the Intercounty Baseball League, tied with Justin Gideon with 11 home runs. That's Justin Mara.
Mara walked a few times yesterday, and he had that home run streak come to an end, his 3-game home run streak, but 3 walks for the left-handed bat for the Maple Leafs.
Mara hammers the ball. This one's going to get through the right side. That was a line drive single to the outfield. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have the first hit of the ball game. It's Justin Mara with the single.
And Mara extends his hit streak to 11 games. Team high.
So here's Jordan Castaldo back in the lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs coming off injury. First pitch is fouled straight back.
And they're easing him back in. Damon Topley, the Maple Leafs manager, easing Castaldo back into the Leafs lineup. He has him at DH, so Topley slides into that first base spot that he played in last night. And I can see him here in this spot for a few games. We'll see if he can get through this ball game. He just wants to give it a go and see where he's at health-wise.
Breaking ball from Hummel is way outside.
There's some guys in this league. A lot of guys in this league. It's a league that guys have 9 to 5s, right? But you see Justin Gideon, he plays every game. He hasn't missed a game in the IBL. And Castaldo and Justin Mara don't miss many games either. So some top players in this game, some high-end talent, and guys that play day in, day out. So Castaldo did not want to miss this game.
Castaldo fouls it off. Now 1-2 on the Maple Leafs lefty. Jordan Castaldo inserted back into the lineup this afternoon, hitting .356. And once again, the stat that really stands out to you, even more than the batting average, is the amount of walks that Jordan Castaldo was able to draw. He's behind in the count now against Wyatt Hummel. There goes the runner from first base. Oh, and it was a fantastic jump by Justin Mara.
Yeah.
He was running 3 seconds before Hummel delivered to the plate, but Jordan Castaldo had to foul that pitch off because it was in the strike zone.
And it was 2 strikes, as you said. And I was going to say, though, Justin Mara, he had a stolen base yesterday. And on top of that, he came home from second base on hit and run. In fact, it was a base hit by Salazzo because of, or Connor Lewis, excuse me, in the cleanup spot because the hit and run was on, so the third baseman was out of position. So he's becoming a speed demon this weekend against the Jackfish.
Jordan Castaldo hits one down the left field line. This one's hooking and just foul.
It wasn't a great swing on that one, but he got a bat on the ball and almost had it find some green down that left field line. So an opportunity for Castaldo here as he keeps the at-bat alive.
The thing that I find is incredible, too, is that with Justin Mara going about a second before the pitch was even thrown, it's incredible that Wyatt Hummel didn't end up balking. Castaldo hits one in the air. This one's high in the air to center field. Nicholson's coming in. He makes the catch, and there's 2 away.
And that brings up John Salazzo, who had a tough day yesterday defensively, also making a few mistakes defensively in what was all around an ugly game for the Leafs defensively. It wasn't just Salazzo at third base, but an opportunity for Salazzo here to get going again. And that's the best part about baseball. You know, sometimes in the IBL, you can't really say the same way that you can with Major League Baseball, but you always get to play the next day, and that's the mindset that Salazzo and the Maple Leafs have in this game.
John Salazzo comes into this game hitting .333. A lot of hit streaks were broken last night against the Welland Jackfish, with the Maple Leafs just recording the 1 hit. This one's up and away outside.
Not many times you'll be holding the Maple Leafs lineup to 1 hit. Obviously, after the injury to Dan Mara, we saw that Angel Castro have an at-bat. Adam Mara had an at-bat in the 9th inning, so it was an all-hands-on-deck kind of night for the Maple Leafs and the guys they did have at the ballpark.
Salazzo takes outside 3-0.
We were kind of hoping, though, that you may have seen Angel Castro hit in this game, but not the case. He's not needed, and the Maple Leafs have enough guys to fill out a lineup 1-9 here today.
I talked to Angel Castro before the game. That one's outside ball 4. The Toronto Maple Leafs have 2 runners on, and I said, you got an at-bat last night.
Huh?
Said, yeah. And he seemed very happy about it, too.
Well, the first swing he had, you would have thought that was Sean Riley just going for an absolute hack at it, but then he swung through strike 2, but then he got ball, the third pitch was in play. It was a shallow fly ball to right field, but hey, I mean, you'll take it, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't know it was a shallow fly ball. He made it seem like it was a bit deeper.
No, he's got to relax a little bit on that one. Lazy pop-up.
But getting the bat on the ball against the pitching staff that the Welland Jackfish have, and as a pitcher yourself, is an impressive feat at that. Aiden Mccaskey is the batter, hitting .295 this season.
One of the guys that was not in the Maple Leafs lineup today, a nice addition to get back here on Sunday afternoon.
28 RBIs on the season for Aiden Mccaskey. He will certainly be missed when he goes back to school, but he's done a fantastic job at filling in for the time being and helping this team, as a lot of the young guys have said, just try and get a ring.
Yeah, that's all you can do. John Mccaskey and Boscarino, a few of these other guys, they're not here come playoff time, so you want to put the team in the best possible position come playoff time. And Brian Nestor, he wastes no time in terms of coming out mid-at-bat here against Mccaskey. He doesn't want this inning to get away from Hummel, who had a nice little beginning after the one-out walk to Justin Mara. So that's just to give him a bit of a break here and see what can happen in terms of getting Mccaskey out here, because he needs to get away from you quickly here at Christie Pitts.
6 consecutive balls thrown by Wyatt Hummel. Aiden Mccaskey, we'll see if he's taking all the way to see if Hummel can locate the baseball again.
That pitch count is getting up there. He's over 20 pitches here in just the first inning.
Yeah, 9 strikes and 12 balls for Wyatt Hummel so far, but he's 1 pitch away from getting out of this inning. Mccaskey takes inside 3-0 with Damon Topley waiting on deck.
It should be interesting. Left-handed bat, but you can't find the strike zone. Do you give Mccaskey the green light here? 3-0. You've seen him run into a few balls this season.
Mccaskey takes in the dirt.
Sorry, that was...
Now it's 3-0.
Yes. Even with point streak up, mistakes are still going to happen. 3-1 now, sorry. It's not an animated umpire behind home plate. Sometimes that can help here on the Christie Hill side.
I know, yeah.
It's been tough to see some balls and strikes in this one.
24th pitch. Aidan Mccaskey hits it up the middle. That one's going to get through. Here comes the run around third base. The throw to the plate is cut off. Runners will hold at first and second. But Justin Mara comes around to score, and the Toronto Maple Leafs lead 1-0.
I think that Jackfish may have had a play on Justin Mara in that spot, but the speed demon that he's been this week, inspired by how fast Welland is, they make the easy decision to cut it off and make sure that Santos stays at second base, and that the force out stays for Damon Topley.
So that's RBI number 30 or 29 on the season for Aiden Mccaskey. Damon Topley hitting .214 this season, but feels like he's more valuable than the average would suggest, just with all that he's been able to do for this team. But he's also a situational hitter as well.
Yes.
And right now the situation is just try and poke a ball to the outfield and see if John Salazzo can score from second base.
There's room between the first baseman and second baseman, to say the least. And he's a guy that's capable of that. I talked about it in the last broadcast that we had. I always mentioned how Jeff Cowan, when he was on the Baycast, would always slash one to right field when need be. And Damon Topley is the same kind of guy. And sometimes he can lay down a bunt down the third baseline. He's a man of many tricks.
1-1 on Topley. Wyatt Hummel trying to get the veteran Damon Topley and end this inning after the Toronto Maple Leafs have already cashed in one. Dan Mara had the only RBI last night. Did it on a single. Dan Mara also took a ball to the face as well, and we're hoping that Dan Mara is okay, but that is the reason that he's out of the game today. Way up and in, 3-1 on Topley.
You just look at the season he's been having. I mean, we always talk about Salazzo and Mora, Castaldo, and rightfully so, because those guys are perennial MVP candidates and that versus all-star candidates, but not many guys have had better seasons in the IBL this season than Dan Mara. He's been absolutely fantastic putting the bat in the ball and being in that Maple Leafs lineup day in, day out.
Topley floats one into the outfield, but this one's going to hang up just long enough and be caught by Justin Gideon. So Wyatt Hummel has some control issues, but does get out of the inning with just the run scored, and the Toronto Maple Leafs lead 1-0 over the Welland Jackfish. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball TV, presented by TD Canada Trust. Welcome back to Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. Thomas West here alongside Ryan Eakin. It's 1-0 Toronto Maple Leafs. Sam Green coming back on the mound needed very few pitches, less than 10 pitches in the first inning to get through 1, 2, 3. As here's the ball hammered out to center field, but right in his tracks is Connor Lewis, who makes the catch and retires Sam Cocker. And there's one away.
And then brings up James Schmeibert, who, going back to his last game here at Christie Pitts, he put on a show. And he's a guy that began this season playing independent baseball, and you can see why, because he's been a massive addition for this Jackfish lineup.
This is the 101st at-bat on the season for James Schmeibert, hitting .370 this season in 20 games.
Going back to what should have been a 2020 season, but obviously the COVID-19 pandemic stopped that from happening. He signed with Guelph, and he was expected to be a massive bat in Guelph's lineup, but a couple seasons later, he's up with Welland.
37 hits on the season for Schmeibert. 3 of home runs, but get this, 17 doubles this season for James Schmeibert, and he's been able to find gaps anywhere.
He can hit a base hit and take off a second on a play and this and that, but this is a guy that has big time power, and from the left side, that can play here at Christie Pitts.
Although that wind is blowing straight in from right field, so it could be difficult if you get a ball in the air. Green's pitch, swung on a miss, strike 3. A slow breaking ball from Sam Green. That's his first strikeout of the afternoon, and he's been 5 up, 5 down so far against Welland Jackfish.
In this Jackfish line, the one thing about it, 1-9, is you have Justin Gideon top of the order and Joe Morello and all those guys, and those guys are definitely the best bats in the lineup, but 1-9, they're scrappy, and they put the ball in play, and it doesn't get easy at any point. Even with 2 out, Ethan Hunt is a base hit or a walk away from perhaps stealing second base, and you bring up Matt Hildebrand, and also we know what he can do here at Christie Pitts, so there's no easy out in this Jackfish lineup.
Everyone in this Welland Jackfish lineup is hitting over 300. Matt Hildebrand is the lowest at 308. So that goes to show you how well they've hit. Yeah. And then when they get on base, they steal bases like it's nobody's business as well.
Yeah, they're high-end talent. I wouldn't say it's, you look at London, they have a guy like Robert Mullen, and, the Leafs have Castello and Justin Moore, though you have to throw Gideon right in that mix. But 1-9, in terms of even their bench guys, they're the deepest team in the league.
Pitch is just outside.
You look at today's game, Hogan Brown on the bench and a few others. It's not easy to crack this Jackfish lineup. Mike Wigner.
Pitch is way up and in now, 3-1 against Ethan Hunt, hitting .345 this season. Got some great speed as well. 14 stolen bases, struck out just 16 times and 116 at-bats through 29 games with the Welland Jackfish. Hunt hits a high chopper. This one's to the second baseman, Grant Tamani. A quick throw on to first to get Ethan Hunt. And 6 up, 6 down for, once again, a really good-looking Sam Green in the Toronto Maple Leafs uniform. 1-0 Toronto Maple Leafs over the Welland Jackfish. This is Maple Leafs Baseball TV presented by TD Canada Trust. From Thomas West and Ryan Eakin. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Maple Leafs TV. Thomas West and Ryan Equin. Maple Leafs TV presented by TD Canada Trust. Wyatt Hummel back on the mound for the Welland Jackfish.
Hummel looking to have a clean inning and an efficient inning at that. He threw more balls and strikes in the first inning.
And 30 pitches as well. This one's down the line, just foul.
Got Dustin Richardson coaching third base and
yeah,
making the case that was a not a foul balls.
I was like, who is that massive human being coaching third base and calling fair or foul, which was wildly inaccurate. But
funny feeling that the ex-Boston Red Sox might be back as early as Wednesday. So.
Which would be a huge boost for the Maple Leafs bullpen as well. Connor Lewis is the batter, hitting .270 this season. Lewis hits a little chopper on the ground. Third baseman Hunt plays it, throws to first, right on the money. Good play by Ethan Hunt, and there's one away. Grant Tamane, the second baseman, not something that he normally does, but was tasked with coming in and playing second base last night against the Welland Jackfish after the injury to Dan Mara.
No question that he's a Swiss Army knife in that Maple Leafs lineup. I mean, going back to his college days, he used to be a catcher, and he caught some games at least too. Prior to the arrival of Justin Mara filling that spot as the Leafs full-time catcher in 2016. So, some outfield, some second base, and some catcher for Grant Tamane in his time with the Maple Leafs.
And he's played good defense as well this season. We've seen him have a couple of outfield assists from left field. Now coming in and playing second base, made a nice play on the high chopper back in the first inning.
It's not easy fielding hoppers here at Christie Pitts, as you can ask Venezio on Wednesday night.
Oh, there have been some unbelievable hops to Jose Venezio, but if there's anyone that has the hands to do it over there at shortstop, you would think it would be Jose Venezio.
No question.
He is pretty calm, cool, and collected at shortstop, no matter what kind of ground ball he's getting.
Mostly a second baseman in affiliated baseball with the Boston Red Sox, but a guy that can definitely play at shortstop here in the IBL.
Hummel's pitch is over the inside corner. Strike two.
No question that Hummel comes in. He comes in, he's throwing the ball with decent velocity. Obviously, we don't have a gun on the guy, but no question he's living up to a bit wild at times, but also decent velocity on his fastball kind of guy.
Full count pitch, fouled off by Tamane.
That third spot, we talk about the Maple Leafs rotation come playoff time. That Jackfish rotation, obviously, it's going to be led by Jake Harford, and number 2 is likely to be Rich Carrington. But that third spot's open between Wyatt Hummel, Chris Bowato, and Chris Lazar. And you can move a couple of those other guys to the bullpen. So a great outing, go a long way for him tonight.
Tamane takes way up and in. A one-out walk for the Toronto Maple Leafs as Grant Tamane heads down to first on the 3-2 count walk. So here's Greg Carrington, and this is a guy that has had a good season overall at the plate for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he's a guy who's kind of trying to get out of a funk here over the last couple of games. Last 5 games hitting an even 100.
There's no question that Greg Carrington, is in his slump. You go back to that game last Friday against Hamilton. He struck out in all 4 at-bats, which will definitely deflate the numbers. So an opportunity for him today to get going. We saw him in batting practice. I know he caught your eye on one of the home runs he hit. It all begins in batting practice, and he hopes he can transition to gameplay.
It's actually more the physique.
Yeah, but he also hit one out.
That caught me. I saw him step to the plate. And I'm like, man, this guy looks like he has some power, which he does.
Yeah, and he's shown it, at Christie Pitts this season.
Pitched in there for a strike. First one was fouled off, so now that's 0-2 against Greg Carrington. And with that being said, in the slump that Greg Carrington has been in over his last 5 games, he still has an OPS of 800 on the season, which is really no slouch. Fouls one off. That was almost the catcher's glove there. Still 0-2.
He's a big-time bat in the Leafs lineup. He obviously played professional baseball last season in the Pecos League, and obviously that's a lower-level, independent level baseball. It's not the competition of the Atlantic League or the Frontier League, but nonetheless, a guy that comes into Maple Leafs lineup with professional experience.
Tack on 14 RBIs this season as well for Greg Carrington. He'll need a double at least to score Grant Tamani.
It's a decent lead for Tamani at first base.
Hummel's pitch, up and away. Now 2-2.
To me, you don't want to go on this at bat, quite frankly, unless it's maybe 3-2 if you're Tamani, just because Carrington has been strikeout prone as of late. Hummel can definitely get Carrington on a high fastball.
If you're stealing the base, you're stealing it not for the hit and run. You're trying to swipe the bag, not going. It's just inside, 3-2. And now here another extended at-bat for a Toronto Maple Leaf against Wyatt Hummel, who has his pitch count at 43 here in the second inning with just one away. But a ground ball could make things much quicker. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3 by Greg Carrington on a pitch in the dirt, and there's 2 away. And here comes Jose Venezio.
To me, now this becomes an opportunity for Tamani to potentially look at silly second base. Obviously, Sam Cocker is one of the better defensive catchers in the league behind the dish for Welland, but if Tamani gets thrown out, you have 1, 2, 3 up in the third inning. But if he gets unsafe at second base, Venezio, who hits a lot of slap hits, is a base hit away from extending the Maple Leafs lead. So I can see Tamani going sometime in this at bat.
Jose Venezio makes a lot of contact. 18 strikeouts this season, but that's in 128 at-bats. Venezio fouls it straight back. And although Jose Venezio is a slap hitter, and that's where he's had most of his success this season, there is power in that smaller stature as well. We see him in batting practice all the time. He's able to easily clear the fence out there in right field, even in center.
Go back to his home run against London. That was a no-doubt bomb and one of the toughest ballparks to hit a home run in. So he's more than capable.
Over the outside corner. Now 1-1. And Jose Venezio probably will stick to the game plan and just try and get on base because he does have Justin Mara coming up and John Salazzo. Those are 2 of the best bats in the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup.
This is a lineup that you absolutely just pass the stick to the next guy.
Venezio takes way outside, 2-1.
And Hummel might get through this inning without allowing any runs or any damage, but that pitch count is getting up there. He's almost at 50 pitches here in the second inning. That Welland bullpen, though, is they have all their options down there. So,
right.
That's not so much an issue, but even then, you'd love to see your starting pitcher go at least 6-7 innings.
Just one arm coming out of the bullpen in that 13-1 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. Pitch is up and away. It's now 2-2 to Jose Venezio. Grant Tamani at first base. Maple Leafs leading 1-0 over the Welland Jackfish and looking to extend it here with 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Venezio fouls it off. This one's down the left side.
That was pitch number 50 for Wyatt Hummel, who was having a lot similar of an outing that he had against the Maple Leafs back in May. Not a game where he allows a lot of runs, but a lot of pitches being thrown, a lot of balls being thrown. And just walking that tightrope right now. But again, he's one pitch away from pitching 2 innings and only allowing that 1 run.
Last pitch against Guelph. Gave up 4 runs and 3 2/3. Venezio swings and just gets a piece of it and fouls it straight back. Count remains 2-2 on Jose Venezio. Also gave up 5 hits against the Guelph Royals. That was part of an 8-5 loss. And the Welland Jackfish, by the way, coming into last night, were on a 2-game losing streak.
Yep. Both games lost to
Guelph Royals.
That Guelph lineup, they had their A lineup out for the first time all season yesterday. And that, to me, is one of the better lineups I've seen in the 10 years I've been in the IBL. I mean, you got guys like Justin Ventura batting 7th. That's quite the lineup for Guelph.
Pitch is in the dirt, and it goes off the shin pad of the home plate umpire. Could be a break for the Welland Jackfish as Grant Tamani stays there at first base, and now the count's 3-2 on Venezio.
It's funny, going back to Guelph, you saw Kyle DeGrace in that 2 spot yesterday. He hadn't played since he made that Chrissy Pitts debut almost a month ago. But he wanted to catch Claudio Custodio's record-breaking performance yesterday, and that most certainly was that for Guelph, setting the all-time strikeouts record for a single season. So quite the accomplishment by Claudio in that game.
And there's still weeks to go.
Yeah, that's what makes it so amazing. Yeah,
you might have 2 or 3 starts left.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question.
There goes the runner. Jose Venezio fouls it off down the left side.
That ice cream truck is taking
a beating. Yeah.
Only the second inning. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, we were delivered one of the ice cream truck balls.
Yeah.
I'm inspecting it. There's no ice cream on it. That's kind of disappointing.
It's a hot day. You can get the ice cream however you can get it.
Runner will be going again 3-2 to Jose Venezio. This has been a long battle here against Hummel, and it's outside ball 4. What an at-bat by Jose Venezio. And that's another walk for Wyatt Hummel.
And we've seen it from Justin Amara, go back to his game-time home run against Hamilton with 2 out a couple months back. But that at-bat by Venezio is right there as one of the best at-bats by Maple Leaf this season.
3 walks in the game so far. We're just in the bottom of the second inning already. Justin Mara getting his second at-bat. But with all of that being said, the Toronto Maple Leafs only have a 1-run lead. It's 1-0.
And the chances of shutting out this Jackfish lineup is not all that likely. So
you need to take the runs when you can get them.
It's kind of like Wednesday night. We were sitting together in the 4th inning. We were saying, man, at least don't have that many runs, even though it feels like this game's a blowout. So obviously they eventually open that game up on a Boscarino home run. But if you're the Leafs, you want to add on some runs here, and who better to do it than Justin Mara?
Mara checks his swing, but takes strike 1, 1-1.
Ball in the gap obviously brings 2 runs in for the Maple Leafs, given Venezio's speed at first base.
Mara hammers the ball. This one's going to get down and into the outfield. Grant Tamane rounding third base, and he's coming home. The play at the plate, it's going to be close, and it is not in time. The umpire looked like he was about to throw the fist down for the out call, but sliding in and just barely getting the hand in on the plate was Grant Tamane, and the Toronto Maple Leafs lead 2-0. And I'm not sure if the ball fell out of the glove.
Yeah, the ball fell. Otherwise, I think Tamane's out easily. I mean, maybe he avoided the tag himself, but the ball fell out. And an interesting send by Dustin Richardson. I think what you saw was Welland's right fielder Justin Gideon. He kind of dropped the ball in the transfer, but either way, it's the second mound visit of the inning or the ball game for Brian Estery, and that's a big run for the Maple Leafs, and the inning's not over.
It's a big run for the Maple Leafs, but man, would they ever like to tack on more. A 2-0 lead against the Welland Jackfish almost means nothing, especially here against in Christie Pitts. There is action in the Jackfish bullpen. They're not going to go to it yet. They're going to stick with Wyatt Hummel here, but the leash might be very short.
And I can't really see a number on that. I want to say it's Casey Howard, the ex-Brantford Red Sox, up in that Jackfish bullpen, just looking through the fact that a lot of their guys in the bullpen are lefties with Chris Lazar and Rich Carrington. So that might be Casey Howard up in that Jackfish bullpen. Howard's a guy that can pitch 2, 3, 4 innings if need be. That might be exactly what Welland needs in this ballgame.
Yeah, valuable guy coming out of that bullpen for the Welland Jackfish. A couple of valuable guys that have come over from the Brantford Red Sox. How about Gianfranco Morello playing center field? He has reached base in every single game this season for the Welland Jackfish. Here's the ball. This one's hit on the ground. Could be a tough play at second. Throw to first. And in plenty of time to get Jordan Castaldo. But the Toronto Maple Leafs tack on one more, and they've run the pitch count of Wyatt Hummel up to now over 50. And now it's Sam Green's task once again to try and set down the Welland Jackfish, and he's been fantastic so far in this baseball game. From Thomas West and Ryan Equin, this is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. new pitcher into the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Dylan Jacober. And, man, some job well done for Sam Green. He gets all 6 batters that he faced, and he turns things over to Dylan Jacober, who had a good couple innings of work against the Barrie Baycats. And his last outing gave up just 1 hit in 2 innings, struck out 3. Comes into this game with a 5.18 ERA, but another guy who's been heating up as the season goes along.
And people might say, why take out Sam Green? Green was the opener in this game. He was only going to pitch a couple innings, no matter how that ball game went.
Hard ground ball. That one gets through. Matt Hildebrandt finds a hole, and that's the first hit of the ball game for the Welland Jackfish.
And it's not going to be up to Jacober too. I would say the Leafs would love to get him through the 5th inning, and then they can kind of back their way into the bullpen that way with Nagorski and Adamar. But tough task for Jacober. I mean, he's a guy that is a ground ball pitcher. There's no question about that. You look at his go-to pitch; it's that sinking pitch that he has, and he's facing a team that has puts a bat in the ball. So the defense is going to have to be on his game in the next few innings for sure.
And Matt Hildebrandt actually kind of beat the shift there. Yeah. The Toronto Maple Leafs had a modified shift with Jose Venezio playing almost right behind the bag at second base, and then John Salazzo moving over to where the shortstop would play.
We've seen it now a couple times in the last 2 games. That big lefty bat comes in. Everyone thinks he's going to pull the ball. So Damon Topley has his defense shift. And it was Ryan Rio that broke up the shift a couple nights back on Wednesday night. And now it's Matt Hildebrandt for the Jackfish.
Pitch is in there for a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike to Sotelo lines one and dropped, but this could be a chance for a double play. Throw on to second to get the force out. And I don't think that was on purpose by John Salazzo. They get to lead runner, but that's not a good exchange. Exactly. Matt Hildebrandt at first base. And instead, Sotelo is over there at the fielder's choice.
Yeah, with Hildebrandt on first base, there's absolutely no issue of him running. Now with Sotelo, there's absolutely a
good chance.
Run, so yeah, really great chance, actually. So not an exchange that the Maple Leafs want by any means.
Sotelo has 18 stolen bases this season for the Welland Jackfish. We'll see if Jacober can hold him on. Here's a ground ball. That one's to John Salazzo. Looks to second. No. Throws on to first. Picked out of the dirt by Damon Topley. And now there's 2 away.
And that's the right decision by Salazzo. I mean, you'd have loved to get the lead runner and step the force out and do all that. But at the end of the day, you have to take the out that you absolutely know can happen, because that was an issue the Leafs ran into yesterday. And poor Angel Castro had a tough outing because of it.
Tyler Dupuy hitting .314 this season. He's the number 9 hitter for the Welland Jackfish. Dupuy also has 17 stolen bases, a guy who can fly. And if he can get a single into the outfield, you have to imagine that Sotelo would be able to score.
And there's 2 out, but as Gio Morello comes to this plate now, you can see Damon Topley is almost on the green. On the grass, I should say. It's not golf. On the grass, and potentially a 2-out bunt here by Morello and his ability to get on base anyway.
Here's a ball lined into the outfield. That one's going to get down and will score Sotelo easily as the ball gets through and goes all the way to the wall. A throw in, and that'll go as likely a double for Tyler Dupuy, and the Welland Jackfish are within 1. It's 2-1.
Brings up Justin Gideon as Gio Morello continues that wild hit streak, and Jackfish now a home run away from Justin Gideon taking the lead. And what a turn of events that can be given the outing from Hummel through 2.
And hitting home runs in Welland isn't the easiest thing to do. Hitting home runs in Hamilton isn't the easiest thing to do, but this is where Justin Gideon can pad those stats if he so chooses. Pitches outside. Aiden Mccaskey didn't take a fantastic route to that ball, which is part of the reason why the runner was able to move up to second base. And should also mention as well, Aiden Mccaskey also doesn't play a ton of left field.
Yeah, he's a corner infielder, first baseman, third baseman, 99% of the time. But he's playing left field today because Grant Tamani has to play second base. And the Leafs don't really have a backup outfielder. Ryan Santos does return to the team on Monday, so that's a nice addition for the Leafs.
Oh, and they've got him picked off. Dupuy, and the throw is going to get away and into the outfield. The Toronto Maple Leafs blow an opportunity to get out of the inning as they had Taylor Dupuy picked off at second base, but the throw got away from Jose Venezio.
That could have been a lot worse. I mean, if Connell Lewis was not coming in on that play, that could
Right.
easily be a 2-2 game with Morello's speed now at third base and a wild turn of events. It really should have been a base hit. He ends up at second base, and then what should have been an easy pickoff play. He's now at third base, and a great opportunity here for the Jackfish best bat to tie the game at 2, if not do more than that.
Justin Gideon, the batter, takes up ball 2, 2-1.
You don't want to be throwing away outs against this Jackfish lineup.
Gideon fouls it off.
But going back to what I was saying prior to that pickoff attempt, Ryan Santos, who perhaps might be the fastest guy in the IBL. I mean, he's the guy that just led the league in stolen bases in the past, and he comes back to the team for Wednesday's game, and he does go back for playoffs, but he's here for the rest of the regular season, and that's a massive addition for the Leafs just to help them get through the rest of the season.
So that's an interesting addition. We didn't see a ton of Ryan Santos last season. I think he only appeared in about 5 games, but in those 5 games, he had 417.
Yeah.
And this one gets to the backstop. Coming home is Morello, and he scores easily, and this game is tied 2-2.
In a game that, again, I mean, an inning that easily should have been over. You kind of had that feeling that Jackfish were going to take advantage of that, and ended up being a wild pitch. So a couple costly errors by the Leafs. Also, that one going down as a wild pitch, and it's a tie game just like that.
Yeah, and this is exactly how the game got away from the Toronto Maple Leafs last night as well. Some opportunities in the second and third inning to get out of innings without runs being scored, double play opportunities that weren't able to be turned. And Angel Castro really didn't have the worst start despite giving up 13 runs, 9 of them earned. But it's tough when you got to get extra outs, and the Toronto Maple Leafs ended up making 6 errors in that game against the Welland Jackfish last night. And you can't accredit all of the 13 runs to that, but you can certainly accredit some of them.
No question. Again, the Jackfish, they're a team that you have to understand. You have to play great defense against them. This is not like, when the Baycats come to town or London comes to town, they got a lot of power, and they can beat you that way, which is obviously one way to beat a team, because the Jackfish, they do it differently. They put the ball in play, and they run a lot. They make you execute. So, it's one thing if you get beat by a home run, that happens, but that doesn't happen with the Jackfish. They beat you in a different way, and you have to be at the top of your game, and at least most certainly not last night, and most certainly not in this inning.
Brandon Nicholson, the batter, and hits a ball on the ground. Grant Imani flips to second for 1, and that's all they need. But the Toronto Maple Leafs give up a couple of runs as the Welland Jackfish tie things 2-2 at Dominico Field. This is Maple Leafs TV, presented by TD Canada Trust. 2-2 between the Welland Jackfish and the hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. In the bottom of the third inning, Dylan Jacober giving up a couple of runs. As the Welland Jackfish once again using that speed on the base path to tie this game up.
And Hummel out for his third inning. If he does get in trouble, though, I imagine it will be Casey Howard, who is indeed up in that Jackfish bullpen, coming into the game. And I think it's the right call to let Hummel come out and begin this inning because he can breeze through it. You never know how long he can go in this game. Two lefties to begin. Salazzo and Mccaskey before the line of right-handed bats come up before the top of the order.
John Salazzo hammers one. This one's to center field. Back goes Nicholson to the wall, and he makes the catch, crashing up against the wall. John Salazzo gave it a ride, but the speed of Brandon Nicholson in center field was able to track it down, and there's one away.
The only issue for Salazzo in that at-bat and on that pitch was the fact that he hit a dead center. So if it wasn't for the fact that he hit a dead center in a ballpark that's not easy to hit dead center, it may have easily been a double for Salazzo.
Aiden Mccaskey, the batter, with one away. Damon Topley is on deck. Infield and outfield played straight away against Mccaskey. He takes the first pitch outside, ball one.
Howard is ready to go in that Jackfish bullpen if need be.
Pitched in there for a strike. 1-1.
Oh, it's called strike, yeah. Leafs bullpen didn't like that call. Pitch it looked well away. Came from the top of Christie Hillside.
And the only person that has a worse perspective on that is this one's fouled off left side, but hit pretty well by Aiden Mccaskey. The only people that have a worse perspective on the strike zone than us is the people in the Maple Leafs bullpen.
Oh, sorry, I meant the dugout. Yeah, but yes,
okay.
You're right. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, no, you're right there.
I was gonna say.
I'm not really sure how focused those guys are on the strike zone down the third baseline, but no, yeah, 100%. At least bullpen, yeah, not a great angle from compared to the Jackfish bullpen.
Mccaskey swings and misses on a ball in the dirt. Sam Cocker whips it down to first base, and there's two away to complete the strikeout of Aiden Mccaskey. And here comes Damon Topley.
Now batting for Maple Leafs, first baseman number 7, Damon Topley.
Just like that, Hummel has two quick outs, and man, if you get through this inning, you kind of have to bring him out for the fourth inning and just keep going from that point. If you're the Jackfish, obviously he is almost at 60 pitches, or over 60 pitches, I should say. But
yeah, so this is pitch number 66.
Yeah, so he's over the limit, even if he got out of this inning on the next pitch or two. But they'll take 5 innings of 2-run ball if that's what Hummel ends up providing for this team today.
Wyatt Hummel has gone 3 innings and 3 consecutive outings for the Welland Jackfish. 4, 3, and then 3 2/3 in his last one. The strikeout by Aidan Mccaskey was his second of the ball game, and we've seen Wyatt Hummel have a much higher frequency of strikeouts, but he just has 2 in this ball game. 37 strikeouts in 26 innings coming into this game.
Yeah, and both against left-handed bats too. So kind of, I was going to say, oh well, a lot of left-handed bats in the Leafs lineup, but one on Carrington and one on Mccaskey. You can see he has his stuff. He has that high fastball.
Topley chops one up the middle. This one's going to squeak through. Damon Topley is aboard with 2 outs.
But a lineup like this in the Maple Leafs, middle of the lineup, I don't think he's a guy that is capable of really fooling anyone in this lineup. But nonetheless, he's almost through 3 innings of 2-run baseball.
Connor Lewis comes to the plate, hitting .270. And in a 4-game hit streak, snapped, as did everyone except Dan Mara in the Leafs lineup last game in that 13-1 loss to the Welland Jackfish. But before that, he had 3 hits in 2 consecutive games against the Guelph Royals and the Barrie Baycats. Those were both part of 16-9 wins and 12-3 win over the Barrie Baycats for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But having a slow start to the year was Connor Lewis, but he has been picking it up of late. 0 for 4 last game.
He signed with the team in late May, early June, instead of signing with the team right from the get-go. But a nice addition for the Maple Leafs. He's got it plays quite often, especially on Wednesday nights when Grant Tamani can't really make it to games. So a big addition for the Maple Leafs.
Takes low. And this is a guy who doesn't have a ton of power. He never really has, but he's a real good keep the line moving in the middle of the order, and he'll get on base, and most of the time that's via a single. He fouls one off. This one almost straight back over the backstop. Grant Tamani is on deck, hopeful of an at-bat.
Lewis in this at-bat, he really just has to keep moving the sticks, right? A ball in the gap might not get Damon Topley home first base, so let's try to get a base hit and bring up Tamani, who can try to do what he can do.
Here's the ball hit on the ground. This one's to the shortstop. Long throw over the first base to get the speedy Connor Lewis. That was a strong throw in the hole from Simbert. And the Maple Leafs are retired. Tied 2-2 with the Welland Jackfish. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust from Thomas West and Ryan Eakin. We'll be right back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Toronto Maple Leaf Baseball on YouTube. It's 2-2 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Welland Jackfish. Dylan Jacober is back on the mound for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Gave up a couple of runs in what was kind of a messy inning for the Leafs in the top of the third. That tied the game 2-2.
In this 4-5-6 for the Jackfish this inning, including Sam Cocker, who is pretty in that conversation with the Robert Mullins and Justin Mars as one of the better catchers in the IBL. And here he is in that cleanup spot, which you don't see a lot of catchers in, although the Blue Jays and Leafs have their catchers right smack in the middle of the lineup. So some teams do it, some teams don't.
Yeah, there's not a ton of comparisons to Alejandro Kirk between Sam Cocker, maybe Danny Jansen.
They're both catchers. That's about it.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Throw down to first base to complete the strikeout, and one away against Sam Cocker, who's been a tough out this season. James Smybert, the batter, came into this game hitting .370 for the Welland Jackfish. 23 RBI sitting in the middle of the lineup. Check swing down to third base, and Smybert did go. So it's strike one.
Jacober, 14 strikes, 10 balls, looking to get a bit more in the strike zone. It gets better as he goes on, as he did Wednesday at Chrissy Pitts.
Dylan Jacober gave up a couple of hits last inning. Another check swing, and this one's a called strike. Now 2 strikes on Smybert. Swinging a high chopper to first base, but it's going to be foul.
Stahl went to visit the Maple Leafs bullpen. He's not a guy that DHs often, so he's kind of has to be tough to get into the habit of not playing a position during game play. I'm sure he gets a little restless at times.
Smybert takes high, 2-2. James Smybert had an extended hit streak ended against the Guelph Royals. That was back on July 23rd as part of that 8-5 loss. And now he's going to make a 3-game hit streak here against the Toronto Maple Leafs as he singles to left field. And Greg Carrington tosses back in, and Welland Jackfish have 1 on with 1 out. And it brings up Hunt.
There's no question that Smybert is a threat to steal base at first. I would not be surprised at all to see Jacober do a couple pick-off plays here just to see whether or not he can avoid him from going.
Healthy lead for James Smybert at first base, although just 3 stolen bases on the season. And guys behind them like Ethan Hunt, Mateo Borsatello, and Taylor Dupuy, those are guys who have really been dominating in that department. Pitch over the inside corner, and in there for strike 1. It's 1-1 on Ethan Hunt.
Ball would have to be hit pretty hard on the ground in turn 2.
This one's hit in the air, and it's pretty shallow to left field. Coming in is Carrington. He makes the catch on the run, and there's 2 away. Matt Hildebrandt singled in his last at-bat, was able to find a hole between Jose Venezio and John Salazzo, who were playing the shift on him in his last at-bat, and now Jose Venezio is signaling to the infield. He's going to cover that hole right where that base hit went for Matt Hildebrandt in his last at-bat.
See Greg Carrington really begin to back up in right field. You want to play no doubles in this spot. Hildebrandt, you'll survive with him getting a base hit, but you can't allow anything more than that.
Pitch is in there for a strike, and no doubles in the gaps because there is about 30 feet of real estate beside John Salazzo down the line. If Hildebrandt was able to find it, but that's not a place Hildebrandt usually goes, and he's going to hit a ball to Jose Venezio. Diving stop, long throw to first, and what a play by Jose Venezio to end the inning, put a star next to that one. The Toronto Maple Leafs get out of it without the Welland Jackfish scoring, and this game remains tied at 2-2 after a fantastic defensive play by Jose Venezio. From Thomas West and Ryan Eakin, we'll be right back. It's Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. So a 2-2 ball game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Welland Jackfish, but just barely as Jose Venezio made a diving play to get Dylan Jacober out of the inning. Now it's Grant Tamani to lead things off. The Toronto Maple Leafs looking to tack on and maybe take the lead with 8, 9, and 1 coming up.
Casey Howard still throwing in that Maple Leafs bullpen, or excuse me, the Jackfish bullpen. He's ready to go, obviously, at any point if they need to relieve Wyatt Hummel.
I mean, you kind of subtly announce a lot of trades on air, but never that deliberate.
No. I mean, I perhaps forecasted the Justin Gideon trade 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. Rumblings that may have been happening. Turns out the trade was actually done at that time. It was technically done on the Sunday. Everyone found out on the Monday. But sometimes I do that.
I'm in the dark on all of these things. I find out when the general public finds out.
Well, that one was out. It wasn't even me snooping. I just received a text saying, "Hey, this was happening." Sometimes I don't even have to do any investigative journalism, which I sometimes do here in the IBL.
Pitch is dropped by Cocker, but called a strike. Now 3-1 on Grant Tamani. Didn't get the green light on 3-1. We'll see if he's swinging here. It's way outside. Ball 4. Grant Tamani heads down to first base, and Sam Cocker hustles back to the backstop to pick up that baseball. As you could potentially take an extra base on those wild pitches, but not here in Christie Pitts. The backstop is pretty close.
Jose Bautista did that against Seattle many seasons ago. I don't think it was even on a wild pitch. I think he just caught the defense sleeping and kept running to second base, but someone looks that up and you can say whether or not it was a wild pitch or not. But yeah, I haven't seen that ever at Christie Pitts.
Yeah, I remember that Jose Venezio.
Jose
Bautista instance very well. Here's a bunt. It's popped up and goes to the backstop by Greg Carrington. The Maple Leafs trying to play a little bit of small ball here with Greg Carrington. That's an interesting play. I'm not sure I've seen Greg Carrington lay down a bunt yet this season.
He's definitely a guy that can lay down a bunt, but that ball was in fair territory. It may have been caught by Ethan Hunt at third base. The Jackfish third baseman was coming in. And, you understand the idea of bunting this spot, but maybe bunt away if you're Greg Carrington.
Bunting on the first one and bunting on the second takes high. Here's a throw down to first base, and it's not in time. Borsatella was playing way off of first base as the throw looked like it might have beat Greg Tamani.
I haven't timed that Greg Carrington bunted this season. It was a leadoff base hit by, I can't remember who. And I think he bunted over the runners. Then Jose Venezio hit the game-winning base hit against Guelph.
Right, yeah.
Although maybe Carrington was the one that was on base.
This one's way up and away again, and I'm not sure if one of those two was a pitch out.
To me, I'm not taking off if I'm Tamani. You got top of the order coming up. Cocker is one of the better defensive catchers in this league. And Wyatt Hummel, he wastes no time getting that ball from the mound to the plate. So it'd have to be a great jump.
Another slide step by Hummel. Pitches over the inside corner, strike. That's a late call by a home plate umpire, but a confident one at that. It's 2-2.
You hear Castro, he's yelled wow at that one. But what gets me is just the top of Christie Hillside. I've been missing a few strike calls, So I don't mind the animated strike zones or strike calls by some of these umpires because you're not getting that tonight.
Pitch is just outside. Now 3-2.
It should be interesting. Tamani goes 3-2, given that Carrington has been strikeout prone in the last 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Struck out in his last at-bat as well. Here's the 3-2 pitch from Wyatt Hummel. Outside, ball 4, and that's a great at-bat by Greg Carrington. He takes a couple of close pitches, and the Maple Leafs have first and second with nobody out.
And Brian Nestor is going to Casey Howard here. That'd be it for Wyatt Hummel, who simply threw too many balls in this ball game.
All right, we'll stick around and confirm that there is a new pitcher coming into this ball game, but it looks like that's the case with the top of the order and Jose Venezio, and then Justin Mara, and hopeful of an at-bat as well, Jordan Castaldo. So Wyatt Hummel's afternoon is done. New pitcher into the game for the Welland Jackfish. We'll have more on that when we come back. This is Toronto Maple Leafs baseball, presented by TD Canada Trust. New pitcher into the game for the Welland Jackfish is Casey Howard facing the top of the order, and Jose Venezio. And Howard comes in inheriting a 2-on and nobody out scenario for the Welland Jackfish.
You see Venezio bunting in this spot.
Jose Venezio lays down a bunt, and it's a really good one to the third baseman. Throw on to first, and he'll put it in his pocket. Hunt does not throw the ball down to first base. The speed of Jose Venezio beats it out. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have bases loaded with nobody out. And this is a must-score 1, 2, or maybe 3 scenario for the Maple Leafs here in this bottom of the 4th inning.
Well, ball in the gap definitely gets all 3, and you have to hope that at least one of Justin Mara or Jordy Castaldo, with Salazzo behind him, can get a ball in the gap because, again, the Jackfish are going to score runs in this ball game, and you have to take advantage. The Jackfish do not want to give up a run in this play, though. They're bringing that infield in. So a ground ball, they think they can go home, and they get Mara out at first base. So that's what they're looking at here. And now's the middle of the infield. Now backs way up.
That makes a little bit more sense to me with the potential of a double play in Justin Mara. Mara takes first pitch right down the middle, strike 1.
Casey Howard used to pitch for the Brantford Red Sox. He had his first season back in 2014, only pitched a couple games, but Baycats and Red Sox went to Game 7 of the semifinals back in 2014. And he had a pitch in Game 7 because Brantford was out of arms, and it didn't go well for him. Jordy Castaldo had a home run, a 2-run home run in that first inning to give the Baycats an early lead, and that ended the Red Sox dynasty, 6 straight championships. So he was thrown to the Wolves early on in the IBL, but he's become a guy that's been a nice, reliable piece of the bullpen for the Jackfish for the last 2-3 seasons.
1-1 count. Here's the pitch, fouled straight back. A good cut by Justin Mara. Jordan Castaldo is on deck, but now Mara has 2 strikes on him with the bases loaded, and Justin Mara really needs to get a ball in the air or find some way to advance those runners.
This ex-Baycat, former Castaldo teammate Brett Lawson begins throwing in that Jackfish bullpen, also former Maple Leaf. He was actually in the trade with Castaldo too, from the Maple Leafs to the Baycats back in 2014, or 2013, I should say. But a massive out here because if he can get Mara on a strikeout, he's a ground ball away from getting out of this inning on Castaldo.
Something Justin Mara has done a lot this season. This one's hit in the air, not particularly deep. It's in fair territory down the line. Coming over, Ethan Hunt will make the catch. And that was almost behind part of the fence for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that is quietly a very, very nice play. And now the Welland Jackfish have a great chance to get out of this inning with minimal damage being done with 1 out and the bases loaded.
There's the opportunity that there's no damage done because there's a ball on the ground given Castaldo is not exactly at 100%. He won't be hustling out of the batter's box. Our ball on the ground turns 2. This inning's over. And if you can get out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam with Justin Mara and Castaldo up to the plate, that would be a job well done by Casey Howard and a game changer in this game.
Jordan Castaldo, huge swing and a miss, strike 1. But Jordan Castaldo was also as good as they come in the Inter-County Baseball League at hitting. So he will likely be trying to dish one into the outfield, but on that first swing, maybe he was looking for more. 1 strike. Casey Howard trying to get out of the jam. Low and away, 1-1. Casey Howard inherited bases with runners on first and second base with nobody out. Jose Venezio laid down a perfect bunt down the left field line. Not much you can do about that. And since then has got the little pop-up in foul territory by Justin Mara, and that's a big out for Casey Howard. Here's the 1-1. Just outside, Jordan Castaldo has one of the best eyes in the Inter-County Baseball League, and it's 2-1.
You can tell the frame job by Cocker on that play. He brought the ball back up, but didn't fool the home plate umpire. It's 2-1 to Castaldo.
Righty v lefty for Jordan Castaldo. Here's the 2-1. Way outside, it goes to the backstop, and the runner's coming home. There's going to be a play at the plate, and he is out.
There is no reason to run with bases loaded. Only 1 out and a 3-1 count to Jordan Castaldo. That is a it's a decision you have to make quickly, but that is not a good one.
Rantamane trying to score and was out by a pretty considerable margin. And now it's first and third with 2 out. And the Welland Jackfish very well could get out of this inning as there's a meeting on the mound here.
This is a lot of mound visits. This is the 4th inning. We've got the 4th mound visit of the ball game if you include the exit from the bullpen for Wyatt Hummel. So
That's not a stat in the intercounty baseball.
No,
Is
well,
it?
it is up here. It is up here. Well, I just go back. I don't know if they listened to my broadcast or our broadcast on Wednesday night. I called the Baycats out for only having one in between the at-bat mound visits, and the Jackers have done 4 in 4 innings.
I don't have any problem with the mound visits.
I was talking to Damon after
I'm
the game
very
too.
relaxed.
Damon
up
didn't
here.
have an issue with it. He likes it too, but I'm like, we talk about pace of play. Let's cut out the mid at-bat mound visits. Don't freeze the batter. The pitcher's struggling. And deal with it after the at-bat's done.
I could sit up here on the Christie Hill side all day under our tent.
I could. It's a nice.
It's a nice sunny afternoon.
It is.
We're having a great time here, Ryan. I don't know what you're talking about.
The pace of play, though, still has some value up here.
There goes Jose Venezio for second base, and he's still not there. And throw comes back to the pitcher, and now Jose Venezio touches second base, and now goes a stolen base, I guess, for Jose Venezio.
I think Cocker thought what Castaldo thought, and even what Casey Howard thought, including the entire Jackfish defense. And he thought that was ball forward to Castaldo, but it wasn't, and that was a full count, which is an advantage for the Jackfish here. They're one pitch away from getting out of this.
The 3-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. What a job by Casey Howard. He gets a little bit of help from his defense as well. And the Toronto Maple Leafs had bases loaded and nobody out, but were not able to score. 2-2 between the Welland Jackfish and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We head to the 5th inning. Thomas West and Ryan Eakin here with you. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. Dylan Jacober back on the mound for his 3rd inning of work. We're here in the top of the 5th inning. Welland Jackfish did a fantastic job to strand the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last inning with bases loaded and nobody out. And maybe that's a moment where we turn back and look at this game and say that could be a potential turning point in this baseball game.
Yeah, anytime you have the bases loaded and nobody out, you have to cash in, but more so with Castaldo and then, first Justin Marr and then Castaldo up at the plate. And obviously a base running blunder, I think, on a 3-1 count. You just can't go on that one. That's quite the turn of events, and now it's really important for Jacober to come in and have a shutdown inning because, you can only imagine after what could have been a big inning for the Leafs, the Jackfish then respond with a big inning of their own here in the top of the 5th. So he needs a quick, efficient inning here to get the Leafs back into the offense.
Here's a chopping ball to second base, and it bounces over the head of Grant Tamani. Not much you can do, and some soft contact, and the Welland Jackfish have the first runner on.
Yeah, the Jackfish are not a team that crushes the ball. If there was a IBL baseball savant, and you look at exit velocity and all that, there's no way that Jackfish are even close to being the top of an exit velocity, but they put the ball in play, and they apply pressure on the defense in this case. When you do that, you sometimes get a nice Christie Pitts hop, and that's what happened to lead off this inning.
Yeah, and Christie Pitts hop, and this comment doesn't as much apply to that specific play there by Grant Tamani, but Toronto Maple Leafs defense has been struggling a little bit of late. And that also could be that they've had a lot of guys out of the lineup. They haven't been crazy deep over the last couple of games. That can take its toll on you for sure. But I mean, you look at the 6 errors last night.
Yeah.
That's something that just, I mean, if you want to win ball games, that really can't happen, especially against the Welland Jackfish.
Well, I mentioned in my game recap that the last runner takes off.
Runner goes down to second base. Oh, it's a
Got
great
him.
throw by Justin Marr, and they got him. Well,
they're listening. They must have I think Mara may have a earpiece in. I mean, he would not want to listen to this broadcast as you're playing the game. But no, I mean, in these last 2 losses, last night against the Jackfish, and honestly, it was 3 weeks ago against London, or 2 weeks ago against London. They made 11 errors in the last 2 losses. So, cut those in half. Who knows how much of a winning streak the Maple Leafs might be on right now?
Yeah, Mackenzie and I were talking at the end of Leafs Weekly, which is a show that brings you up on all you need to know Toronto Maple Leafs baseball from the past week, of another episode coming out early next week as well. We were talking about a settled importance of this 2-game series against the Welland Jackfish, and that's the throwing ability of Justin Marra, because we knew he was going to be very, very busy. Here's a ground ball to third base. Throwing on the run is John Salazzo, and it's right on the money. Salazzo has had a little bit of a tough time defensively at third base that time. He makes a nice running throw, and there's 2 away.
Yeah, there's no question. This Jackfish lineup, they force you to play defense. They're not going to strike out 13 times in the game. Maybe if Claudio Custodio's on the mound. Besides that, they're not striking out. They're putting the ball in play. They're going to force that third baseman to have a bunch of, 5-3 putouts and all that. Sometimes that doesn't happen. The Jackfish, they take full advantage with their speed. It's a really unique way of playing baseball. It's some people love it, some people don't. But, some people.
It's not the new way of playing.
No, it's
baseball.
not the new. No, and also if this was in the big leagues, it's not a way you can play in terms of sacrificing outs and running all the time as much as you do. But in the IBL, the analytics aspect of things is a bit different because the idea in Major League Baseball is that the risk of trying to steal a base is not worth the reward, right? But in the IBL, these catchers are not exactly Yadier Molina's back there, so that makes a big difference in terms of being able to run and getting on base or stealing bases successfully more times than not.
The way the Welland Jackfish play baseball is that one's delivered over the outside corner from Jacober for strike 1, 2 and 1. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Moneyball.
Yeah.
It's not all about the power numbers. You just want people who can get on base. And here's a ball hit to left field. Coming over is Aiden Mccaskey, and that one's going to fall in foul territory. And it's not like Moneyball in the sense where, they just find guys who can take walks. That's not really been the key to success for the Welland Jackfish. They have every batter in the lineup hitting over 300.
Yes.
But it's what works. You put pressure on the defense, you get guys on base, and runs come in to score for the Welland Jackfish. They just do. We saw the inning where they scored 2 runs. That didn't look like an overly dangerous inning, but they put guys on base. They had the speed. They put pressure on the defense. One of them got in a rundown, which could have ended the inning, and eventually comes in on the wild pitch. And that just is an interesting way to score runs.
A playoff series that would be, to me, interesting to see would be Guelph against Welland because it's 2 completely different lamps. Yeah, Guelph has the Dalton Pompeys and Malik Collingmores that have track speed. But you look at those 2 teams, the way they're built completely different. I mean, Guelph, Sean Riley and Terrasano and Josh Garton, they're built for the home run ball, and not the case here in Welland. So it really would be a matter of what style is better.
Oh, Josh Garton's an interesting player as well. We might have to get to that in just a moment. Grant Tamani throws on the run and gets Justin Gideon. So a good inning for Dylan Jacober as the Toronto Maple Leafs remain tied 2-2 with the Welland Jackfish. Thomas West and Ryan Equin here. It's Toronto Maple Leafs baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. So John Salazzo will lead things off for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I wouldn't be opposed to painting this as a revenge inning for the Maple Leafs, having bases loaded with nobody outs in the last inning. Now they got the middle of the order with John Salazzo and Aiden Mccaskey, and more than ever, they want to get something through this inning.
Well, you need it because neither team. Well, let's get to the back end of their bullpen. They got Hernandez, who to me is one of the best closers in baseball. This is a guy that began the season pitching in Mexico, that somehow ends up here in the IBL. So that's one guy that can absolutely be lights out come bullpen time. But for the next few innings, this game neither team has a lights out guy pitching for them right now. So it really can come down to the best offense, and both teams have great offenses. So both teams really need to get going here offensively. And what better time for the Leafs after a really tough bottom of the fourth inning?
Casey Howard came in with 2 on and nobody out and faced 1, 2, 3 and somehow managed to get out of the inning. Although Grant Tamani coming home and getting thrown out on what could have been a wild pitch to the backstop was a pretty big part of that.
The one thing Casey Howard comes in and does is he throws strikes. He might get hit around and all that, but Wyatt Hummel was crushing Brian Estrie in the Jackfish bench was the fact that Hummel wasn't throwing any strikes, and it really hurts a lot of pain on the defense. But now Howard comes in, throws nothing but strikes. That really goes a long way for the Jackfish.
Check swing by John Salazzo. Pitch was outside. He did not go around. It's now 3-1 and a hitter's count for one of the best hitters in this Toronto Maple Leafs lineup. Casey Howard came into this game with an ERA that was almost at 6. 5.94 and 16 and 2/3 innings pitched. Tack on 14 strikeouts in there as well. He did a fantastic job to get his team out of a jam last inning. Here's a ground ball. That one's up the middle. And that one was hit hard by John Salazzo. And the leadoff guy is on for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's a good start to try and get back some of those runners that they wanted to get in that last inning. That's the young Aiden Mccaskey with a runner on first base. Cashed in RBI number 29 in his last at-bat. Damon Topley on deck as well.
Not really a threat to run at first base is Salazzo. An opportunity for Mccaskey here to extend the inning.
McCaskey's going to lay down a bunt. Oh, and it's a beauty. And there's going to be no play at first base, although Casey Howard tried to make the throw and made a perfect play. But Aiden Mccaskey with that great speed down to first base, but an even better bunt. And the first two are on. And again, the Toronto Maple Leafs using the bunt to propel an inning. And here's Damon Topley.
And now we have to ask the question, and it's not even like a joking matter. If you're Damon Topley, do you lay down a bunt here, right? And at worst, have runners second and third, and if he gets on again, then that might pass out. But I think you have to kind of lay down a bunt down the third baseline, kind of hope you can have second and third, one out, and bring up Connell Lewis, who has been hitting the ball well.
Damon Topley bunting. He's going to put it to first base. And the pitcher and first baseman collide. Damon Topley with his second bunt single. What could be an error, maybe.
I mean...
But David Topley has bunted twice.
And what I like is because I'm sure the whole IBL has seen the bunt. We don't have to refer to like the bunt last game or anything like that. The bunt.
Yeah.
And they saw it was down the third baseline. So this time he goes awful field. Awful infield, I should say.
Yeah,
down,
first Topley.
Yeah. There you go. And at least if bases loaded, nobody out situation. This guy is the definition of small ball.
Oppo Topley is a bunt single to first base.
Can I be my sometimes when I have like the broadcast or my game recaps, I have like the city name and I have like my little headline.
Yeah.
That might be the little headline if the Leafs have a big inning here and perhaps win this ball game. Bases
loaded, nobody out for the second inning in a row for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it goes without saying that this time they need to cash in. The batter is Connor Lewis, and then Grant Tamani is on deck.
And that time too, as they gave Topley a base hit on that play, which I think is the right call because it did apply pressure on the defense. It did force the defense to make a tough play. I'm not really sure who you'd give the air to. Again, the bases loaded got loaded both times on a bunt. You have to take advantage of this time, no question.
Lewis fouls it off. 1-1. And Casey Howard get it of bases loaded, nobody out for the second inning in a row. But this time it's runners that are on by his own merits.
Righty, lefty. Two up for the Maple Leafs here with Lewis, Tamani, and Carrington. There's a lefty and a lefty he got out last inning.
That's a relatively good matchup. It's the bottom of the order for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well.
The bottom of the Maple Leafs lineup that has no Dan Moore, who wouldn't that be a great spot for him in this, bottom part of the lineup, and his ability to get base hits and pull balls the other way. So
Connor Lewis does have great speed, though, so that could bode well for the Toronto Maple Leafs if a ball was hit on the ground and they're in risk of giving up a double play. The Welland Jackfish infield has played in much less than they were in the bases loaded situation last time. Swing and a miss, strike 2 by Connor Lewis counts as 2-2 on the Maple Leafs.
There's average speed at second base Mccaskey, below average speed at first base with Topley, and average speed at third base with Solazos, to give people context in terms of the speed on the base pass right now from Lewis.
Big pitch coming up from Casey Howard. 2-2 to Lewis. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Connor Lewis goes down swinging, and there's 1 away.
You almost have to wonder now if you're in your own hands, right? I mean, you can see how Lewis reacted to that when he also had an outburst afterwards, and he throws his helmet to the ground afterwards. But Howard, I mean, he has to think he's in his element right now, right? I mean, bases loaded, nobody out. This is where I thrive, and an opportunity for Tamani to make up for a pretty huge mistake that he had in the bottom half of the fourth inning. But no question, you need to cash in with at least 1 run here. There's absolutely no other alternative.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Tamani swings and misses, strike 1.
And this is the thing right now for Howard. He's generating a ton of swing and miss. This isn't like he's fouling balls back and he's catching guys looking. Early in the count, late in the count, he is generating a ton of swing and miss.
Greg Carrington is on deck. 0-1 to Tamani. Outside, 1-1. Post pitch.
And that slider has been effective. Obviously, it dipped a bit too far off the plate there, but Howard has his stuff in this game right now. There's no question about that.
Grant Tamani comes in this game hitting .269 with 1 home run and 9 RBIs. Tamani hits a ball on the ground. It takes a tough hop. Hunt has... his only play is going to be the runner standing there, and Aiden Mccaskey at third base. I thought that was going to be a disastrous play for the Welland Jackfish, and then Hunt looked over his shoulder and saw a runner standing right in front of him. He was able to apply the tag. But the Toronto Maple Leafs get a run and lead 3-2 now over the Welland Jackfish.
And this is not some great scenario for the Maple Leafs, right? It's 3-2. Damon Topley's at second base, so even a base hit might not bring him in. But at least you got to run this. I mean, you can't have base load, nobody out, back-to-back innings, get no runs. Base load, nobody out, back-to-back innings, only 1 run's not great, but it's going to be on Greg Carrington to stop that from happening.
Nicholson, Morello, and Gideon are the 3 outfielders. All 3 have pretty good arms. This pitch is in there for a strike to Greg Carrington. Jose Venezio is on deck. This would be a fantastic time for Carrington to work out of this semi-funk that he's been in over the last 5 games.
No one remembers a funk if it hits a ball in the gap right here.
The 0-1. This one's hit down the line in the left field corner, but it's well foul. Carrington got good wood on that one, but was just a little bit late.
And you're down 0-2 to Howard right now, who's been coming in. He's throwing strikes, 18 strikes, 10 balls. He's right in his element right now, 1 pitch away from getting out of it via a strikeout.
Casey Howard has had back-to-back games where he's thrown in, scoreless innings. Just allowed 1 hit in his last 2 innings pitched in 2 separate games. Carrington swings and misses, strike 3. The Toronto Maple Leafs get 1 run, but they've had bases loaded, nobody out in the last 2 innings, and only cashed in 1 time, but they do take the lead over the Welland Jackfish and lead 3-2. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube. Thomas West and Ryan Equin, and Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball is presented by TD Canada Trust. Welcome back to Toronto Maple Leafs baseball on YouTube. Thomas West here alongside Ryan Eakin. Dylan Jacober back on the mound. Toronto Maple Leafs baseball presented by TD Canada Trust.
Leafs do have the lead now as we head into the 6th inning, but really, against this Welland offense.
Justin Gideon hits a high
It's gonna be a
chopper,
double.
and that one's going to get down, and Gideon is going to stop. Greg Carrington did a fantastic job to cut that off quickly. As you mentioned, that had high potential of being a double bouncing down the line with just the way that was hit. Gideon pounds into the ground, but he's on with a leadoff single.
And also that leadoff base hit can easily become a double or a triple just by what you can do on the base pass in terms of stealing bases. And you talk about Damon Topley bunting and all that. Well, the Jackfish absolutely could bunt the baseball in this opportunity right here by Nicholson. Third baseman Salazzo and first baseman Topley, they're not playing in, which is a bit surprising.
So 2-3-4 for Dylan Jacober. This is number 3, and Nicholson squaring to bunt, and man, that almost hit him. It went right through his body. Obviously, that's not the case, but it's 1-0. No, I know. Justin Gideon up first. Nicholson takes way inside once again, and it's 2-0. Brendan Nicholson hitting .306 coming into this game with 33 RBIs.
And obviously, you don't want to have Gideon still second base, but you can't lose Nicholson at the same time. You have to focus on the batter. We still have a long way to go in this ball game before we start focusing on a run coming in and a run not coming in. So on the top of the 6th here in a 3-2 game.
Here's the ball hit in the air. Carrington looks like he has a play. He'll make the catch. That one was hit well. So a little chopper that goes for a single and a hard hit ball that goes for an out. And there's one away with Justin Gideon still standing at first base. And it brings up Sam Cocker.
Cocker is a guy with massive power. Well, I shouldn't say massive power, but above average power for the Jackfish relative to their lineup. And he could definitely hit one out here at Christie Pitts, and the ball in the gap definitely scores Gideon, obviously, with his speed at first base.
Sam Cocker hits a ball in the air. This one is dropping down the line. Tamane coming over. He dives, and it lands in foul territory just out of his reach. A valiant effort. And
he makes that catch. That's right up there with Venezio. It's the nicest play of the game.
If he makes that catch, that might be the nicest play of the year.
Yeah.
But that play by Jose Venezio was fantastic and had a huge moment in the ball game as well to help the Toronto Maple Leafs get out of that inning. And there's a really good chance that this game is not 3-2 Toronto Maple Leafs without that play by Jose Venezio. But with that being said, the Maple Leafs have had their opportunities to score in this game too. And how about the job of Casey Howard only allowing one run, even though inheriting runners on base, bases loaded, nobody out, 2 innings a row. But Casey Howard has come up clutch for the Welland Jackfish so far.
He has done a tightrope. He's allowed base runners by 1 run in 2 innings. The bases loaded. It's been an outstanding job of relief from Casey Howard.
Not a lot of comparables, but reminds me of the first outing of the year from Dustin Richardson. Here's the ball hit on the ground to third base. Nice play by John Salazzo. Throws to second for 1. On to first, and it's a double play. A big stretch by Damon Topley at first, and the Maple Leafs get out of it, and Dylan Jacober keeps looking stronger and stronger, and the Leafs are holding on to a 3-2 lead over the Welland Jackfish. Thomas West and Ryan Eakin here with you. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. Welcome back to Toronto Maple Leafs baseball on YouTube. Jose Venezio will lead things off. I love Jose Venezio's walk-up song.
Yeah,
We don't have a dugout or a broadcast camera here, but Ryan and I are dancing every time it
Well,
comes up.
that might be a 2023 thing. And, it boosts the ratings for sure. I mean, there's no question.
Well, then they're going to know we're not dancing.
Wow. For now, we can lie about it.
And there for strike one to Jose Venezio. Casey Howard coming back out for another inning of work. He's had bases loaded, nobody out, 2 innings in a row, but only throwing 30 pitches so far over 2 innings. He's been, believe it or not, wildly efficient.
And a couple of hits he's allowed have been bunts, right? So that's, kind of, negates what might look like an ugly line for him otherwise, but quite the job done. I mean, again, bases loaded, nobody out twice, and only 1 run in. That's a massive accomplishment for Howard, obviously.
So once again, he's got 1, 2, 3. Jose Venezio takes way inside, and it goes to the backstop. 2-1.
For the Leafs, it's another opportunity to extend this lead now because you got 1, 2, 3 up. We all know what Venezio can do. I think it's on base with his speed, a lot similar to many of the Jackfish players. A big day for here for the Maple Leafs. I got a feeling this game's not going to end 3-2.
Yeah, and you turn back to the left on base runners that the Maple Leafs have had this game so far. Over the outside corner, but it's outside.
Well, there's still a question of Leafs losing this game. That's the talking point. That's the storyline of the game is the guys left on base. And, Leafs don't play until Wednesday, so they would have to sleep on that one. So why do that when you can come away with a W? So a close game here, but you're going to have a close game come playoff time. So a great game for the Leafs to get ready for that.
Venezio hammers the ball on the ground, but that one's right to the second baseman, Dupuy. Throw on to first. 1 away. Maple Leafs are winning 3-2 over the Welland Jackfish right now. Dylan Jacober is on the mound, and if he can go a couple more innings, and you mentioned he's just over 50 pitches, that could be an important part to the Leafs' success story in this game as well.
It's kind of interesting. Does Damon Topley be proactive and take him out of the ball game when he's doing decent? Does he, be reactive and kind of takes him out as he begins to struggle? I think maybe what he would hope, educated guess, seventh inning, he would try to get from Jacober, 8th inning Hernandez, 9th inning Adam Mora. Also, maybe they could flip-flop if you're facing Hillebrit and Schmeibert, a couple of lefties. But
here's the ball ripped down the line, and that one's going to go all the way to the wall. Justin Mara is rounding first. He's heading for second. Oh, he's going to put on the brakes and head back to first base.
And a great decision.
That was a good decision. That throw was right on the money from Justin Gideon, and Justin Mara would have been hosed. Instead, it'll go as a long single.
Justin Gideon, he played center for Hamilton, and now he's in right field. And boy, does that arm play out in right field. And an opportunity for Castaldo to get out of this mini slump here today as he makes his return from pretty bad injury that he suffered last Friday against Hamilton.
Yeah, so it was a collision at first base.
Yes.
I'm led to believe, and it didn't look pretty.
No, especially for Luis Jean, the Hamilton third or shortstop. He landed on his head, which is never something you want to see.
Here's the ball hit in the air by Jordan Castaldo, not particularly deep. Catch is made by Justin Gideon, and retreating back to first base is Justin Mara.
But Castaldo, he got it pretty bad too. His back was pretty bruised up, and you can tell he's just not. He's grinding out today, and it's one of those days where he's frustrated. And right now, he's looking for a spot to sit down. They're pretty busy Maple Leafs dugout.
They need to get some more runners on base.
Yeah, but that's the issue. Venezio take up a seat, but he should be on base right now.
There's John Salazzo, the cleanup hitter for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Takes over the outside corner, strike one.
Brett Lawson is loose and ready to go in that Jackfish bullpen if need be. The ex-Maple Leaf, the ex-Baycat, 5-time IBL champion with the Baycats. So it was an important piece for the first few seasons of that dynasty.
There were a lot of people during that dynasty that were 5-time champions on the Barrie Baycats. Here's a ground ball to second base. Dupuy throws on to first, and the Maple Leafs are out of the inning, and this one much easier for Casey Howard. The Maple Leafs lead 3-2 over the Welland Jackfish. Thomas West and Ryan Eakin here with you. It's Toronto Maple Leafs baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. So Dylan Jacober back on the mound for the Toronto Maple Leafs. James Smybert is the first batter that he will face. Smybert is 1 for 2 today and raised that batting average to 273. And a 273 batting average is good for third in the Intercounty Baseball League.
Infield, or I should say the corners, Topley and Salazzo at first and third base playing in, protecting the bunt. But I don't know if Schreiber has any interest in really laying down a bunt. I mean, this is a guy with massive power, and he's up in the count 2-0. He's a guy that can do some damage for the Jackfish, all with one swing.
I actually want to correct that stat as well. He's still 5th in the Intercounty Baseball League. That could help, though. Ball hammered out to left field, going back to the wall. Aiden Mccaskey can't make the catch. Smybert's going to come in, or Smybert's going to come into second base. That's a double. And with that being said, now he is third in the Intercounty Baseball League in batting average. I was going to say Ethan Hammond is hitting 275, and Cleveland Brownlee is hitting 374. And that's a leadoff double for the Welland Jackfish.
And Dustin Richardson, late acting manager in this game, he's going to come out and talk to Jacober. That's the play that Mccaskey, if he was a natural left fielder, it was not an easy play, but that's the play that you want to make. He wasn't able to, and it gives the Jackfish a great opportunity here to really get going. And I kind of like Richardson coming out here and brings the whole infield and also allows him to join in the mix. And he might be right for one. All assignments necessary, and even Tamani comes in here at second base.
I think Dustin Richardson looks good as the manager, too.
No, Topley. I mean, if you want to get back to just being a full-time player, I mean, Dustin Richardson.
Well,
he's got the presence, though, right?
Yeah, he is a good presence. And he's confident with his words, too.
And to me,
he looks like a pitching coach.
Oh, well, he is like the de facto Leafs pitching coach.
Right.
But at least we're looking at signing Sam Green. Richardson's the one that looking at his bullpen and stuff. So that's all. Richardson's a massive part of this team. It goes well beyond being the best closer in the IBL.
Right. Maybe the best pitcher, honestly.
Yes. Well, I mean, you got lots of top guys. Frank Garces, Tony Custodio, but Dustin Richardson, what he's done has been lights out. But he's been in the ballgame for the Maple Leafs going back to that 2018 season.
I think it's been 3 years since Dustin Richardson's given up a run.
Well, unfortunately for him, he got stuck with a couple of runs against him.
Earned run.
Yeah, because he left the game injured, and Adamar couldn't bail him out.
Right.
But technically, he didn't allow those runners himself to come home. They were just owed to him. And he only left the game. It's not because he got in trouble, because he suffered the injury. So that does that. But, you can see Dustin Richardson. He's on top of that dugout, and he's fully engaged here.
And he's enjoying this, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He'd want to be playing, but if there's anything else he could be doing, it feels like it would be this.
And he's the kind of guy the Leafs need a massive strikeout there for Jacober. I just see him taking his hat off. I mean, I think he's right into it right now. I just like the idea of Richardson. I mean, this guy to me, I was with the Baycast. I saw their championships and the mindset that they had throughout that dynasty. And Dustin Richardson, all he wants to do is get wins. That's all he wants to do. He wants to win a championship. He can be a really competitive guy at times, and a really honest guy at times, but it's all with one goal in mind. That's to bring home a championship.
And he knows the impact that he can have on this team as well. Hildebrandt hits a ball on the ground. Damon Topley's going to come over and field it, take it to the bag himself. And there's 2 away. Ethan Hunt as well striking out.
The impact of Dustin Richardson, I mean, you talk about playoff time. If Leafs drop 3-2 in game, let's say 5 against the Jackfish right now with 2 outs in the 7th inning and a guy on third base, he's probably coming into the game for a multi-out save. I mean, that's just what he does, and he wouldn't want it any other way. So, no question the impact he can make come playoff time.
How about 7 innings and over 100 pitches in the playoffs when the Toronto Maple Leafs needed him most in that finals against the London Majors? And
Damon Topley kept saying to me, I was going to take Dustin out after the next inning. And then Dustin was like saying, nobody was taking that ball out of my hand. Like, if you're going to lose the championship, that's fine. But it's going to be with me on the mound. So that was his mindset.
And then what question did Damon Topley ask him the next day?
Can you pitch game 5? Yeah. Dustin didn't bring his cleats. He's like, I'm coaching first base. But I goes a strum like that late for London. It was kind of a victory just by forcing Dustin to throw all that many pitches, because otherwise he'd been pitching game 5, and then that would have been curtains for the London Majors. But instead, it ended with a championship.
But the situation that the Toronto Maple Leafs were in that finals game 4, they had to win, and Dustin Richardson was not going to let a run. He just wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He was going to have to take multiple bunts and multiple defensive mistakes. He was not going to allow a nerd run in that ball game because that's not what Dustin Richardson does.
Here's a ground ball right back to the pitcher, Dylan Jacober. What a snag. He throws on to first base, and there's another good inning from young Dylan Jacober. The Toronto Maple Leafs continue to lead the Welland Jackfish 3-2 as we head to the bottom of the seventh inning. And, man, it is getting late, and they would love some insurance runs here as well. And Dylan Jacober gets a handshake from coach/pitching coach Justin Richardson on his way back to the dugout, and Coach Damon Topley. From Thomas West and Ryan Equin here, this is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. The Welland Jackfish go to an imposing presence on the mound. 6'8" Brett Lawson comes into the game. And this is an IBL veteran, and he's had some great years in the IBL as well.
To call him an IBL vet would be an understatement. As you said, he's 43. He's a 5-time champion with the Dynasty Baycats. He played on the Leafs. I mean, it was that infamous trade that will not go down in great Leafs history, but it was a trade that sent Brett Lawson and Castaldo from the Maple Leafs to the Baycats for John Waltenbury, and it ended up being the greatest trade in Baycats history and the worst trade in Maple Leafs history. But Brett Lawson, former Maple Leaf, former Baycat, now here he is in Welland.
Hard ground ball to second base. Dupuy fires to first. Aiden Mccaskey is retired. And on just a one pitch, there's one away.
It wasn't that long ago that Brett Lawson used to be a 1-2 punch in the Leafs rotation with Marek Deska back in the day, 2012. And that playoff series he had against the Baycats that year, Brett Lawson was a massive arm for the Maple Leafs. So he's definitely had experience here, pitch like Chrissy Pitts. And given this is a Jackfish last meeting to Chrissy Pitts this season, it could easily be his last ever game here at Chrissy Pitts.
Pitch over the outside corner, and this is a matchup here. Damon Topley versus Lawson.
These guys used to be the battery for the Maple Leafs. Topley catching Lawson for many seasons with the Maple Leafs.
Damon takes inside.
Saw a couple days back Brad Greenwoodson against Topley, and two of the old guys in the IBL. Now we see it with Brett Lawson and Damon Topley. So the old guys still getting it done. Lawson's had some nice outings this season.
Yeah, he sure has. That one's in the dirt. Now 2 balls and 1 strike to Damon Topley. Comes into this game with a 4.86 ERA and 16 2/3 innings pitched. Struck out 9 over that time. Only walked 2 batters this season. Damon Topley gets the better of Lawson in that veteran matchup. He's aboard with a single as he shoots one through the hole. And there's 1 on with 1 out for Connor Lewis.
Lawson, he was the Big Cats closer in 2013 after being a starting pitcher for the Maple Leafs for many seasons. He ended up transferring to the rotation for many seasons afterwards. And he was traded to Guelph, a trade that brought John Waltenbury back to the Big Cats back in 2019. But now he's on Welland. He's closer to home. He has a wife now. He has kids. It's a great spot for him to end his legendary time in the IBL.
Here's a ball that gets over the head of the shortstop and down into the outfield. Connor Lewis and Damon Topley stop at their respective bases at first and second. And the Maple Leafs may have something cooking here with one out against Lawson, and it's Brant Tamane coming to the plate.
Jackfish bullpen is empty, although it does look like we're going to see some movement as the moment I say that. So lefty throwing to that bullpen, he's throwing quick. And I think it might be his Chris Bovado, who, as we know, has been in a starting role at times this season at closer's position. He threw a complete game, 9 innings, against the Leafs in the loss earlier in the season in Welland Stadium. So he's getting up, and he's getting up quick.
Tamane makes a breaking ball outside corner, strike one.
And no surprise, I mean, unless Tamane grounds into a double play here, you have a lefty switch hitter, lefty due up for the Maple Leafs. So lots of lefties due up for the Maple Leafs with Bovado, the lefty on the mound.
Another slow breaking ball from Brett Lawson, and now it's 2-0. Or 1-1, I guess I should say. Fouled off, 1-2.
When Lawson was first in the IBL, I mean, Welland didn't even have a team, and they were back in Mississauga, and then they moved to Burlington for a few seasons. So he's a guy that's seen this franchise grow from really being a nothing bottom feeder to now first place in the IBL.
Here's the ball hit on the air, not particularly deep by Grant Tamane. Coming over is Justin Gideon to make the catch. Damon Topley made a darting move, faking going to third, but only left the bag by a couple of feet.
And this is not the same as having the bases loaded, nobody out. The first, second, one out, you were getting some decent hits off of loss in terms of velocity, in terms of exit velocity, I should say. You kind of want to capitalize with at least one run. Obviously, a base hit would not necessarily bring home Topley, but either way, Carrington is a massive spot for him in this game. He's got a couple strikeouts. A ball in the gap would do wonders for the Maple Leafs right now.
Greg Carrington coming up in an important situation once again for the Maple Leafs. Doesn't have a hit today. He's walked and struck out 2 times.
He's been up in this game with multiple RBI opportunities, and a great spot for him here, albeit with 2 outs, to come up with a big hit.
Carrington fouls it off left side.
And Bovado, he's kind of just standing around right now, and he is throwing, but not with the speed that he was throwing earlier. So Lawson can definitely leave in for burst the next 2 at-bats here, Carrington and lefty, and then Venezio is a switch hitter. So you may as well save Bovado for the line of lefties, beginning with Justin Marr. Although we don't know the splits about Venezio when it comes to batting from the right side or left side.
Pitch is low in the dirt, 2-1. So I don't want to get into this conversation right now, but I do want to tease this for next inning because we have to have the conversation of player of the game.
Yeah,
and I don't even want to start to have this conversation right now, but there's some notable names in that conversation. Here's the ball hit on the ground, and it's going to be fouled on the first base side.
Without looking at any stats. Or
no, I don't want to have this. I want to talk about next inning. I don't want to.
And honestly, this might come down right to the 9th inning. It might come down.
With 2 outs, it'd be.
And rumor has it these guys are going to pennies after the game, so someone might get.
It's not a rumor.
It's a rumor.
Pitch is way inside, 3-2 to Greg Carrington, and the runners will be off from first and second.
And that also makes a massive difference, right? Because now with Topley,
now Damon Topley could score.
Yeah, well, I would hope that he definitely would be able to on a base hit, although if his hit rate to a guy like Gideon and he has the momentum coming in, it still might be a close play, but for that to happen, Carrington needs to come up with a big hit.
So Maple Leafs batters already this game have been wary of the arm of Justin Gideon and declining to advance to another base with.
And I wonder if, I think maybe Brian Nestor thought Lawson may have pulled something there, but whatever it was, he walked off the mound and heads back pretty quickly.
The 3-2 pitch. Carrington hits one in the air. It's on the infield. Over goes the shortstop. He makes the catch. And the Toronto Maple Leafs knock on the door, but fail to score and continue to lead 3-2 over the Welland Jackfish. This is Toronto Maple Leafs baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust and the Penny's Player of the Game conversation coming up next. New pitcher into the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Franklin Hernandez, coming in with a 1-1 record and a .360 ERA.
Hernandez coming in to face righty, lefty, lefty. His best pitch is his slider, which kind of gets negated when you face the next two guys up at the plate.
Taylor Dupuy is the leadoff batter. He squared to bunt on the first pitch and took strike one.
You want to get the leadoff guy out before that 1-2 punch, or really that 1-2-3 punch of the Jackfish come up.
Franklin Hernandez struck out the side in his last outing on July 27th against the Barrie Bay Cats, part of that 12-3 win.
He struck out the side in two of his last three outings. It's going to be tough to do that until he gets a Jackfish lineup that is not prone to striking out.
And there's a swing and a miss, strike three.
Like I said, prone to striking out.
Well, that was a good call, but we were also talking about a guy who in 3 of his 5 outings has also struck out the side. So yeah. Franklin Hernandez has been racking up the strikeouts to almost a Dustin Richardson kind of level. 10 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, and he's walked just 6, given up 9 hits.
And that's also a lot more base runners than Dustin. You talk about what would be an impressive outing. If he gets these next 2 guys out, or even the next 3 guys out, that is as impressive as it gets, given these 2 guys up in Gideon and Morello, or I should say Morello and Gideon, is quite the tandem for the Jackfish.
Yeah, Gianfranco Morello reached base safely in every single game this season. There's a ball that was just foul down the left field line.
Playing in almost made a massive difference. Ball almost got by Damon Topley, but it's a foul ball.
Morello extended his 5-game hit streak to 6 this game as he fouls one off down the left side. 2 strikes on him. And Gianfranco Morello is spending his first year here with the Welland Jackfish, and it's going pretty well after spending his first 3 seasons in the IBL with the Brantford Red Sox.
Yeah, he sat out of Brantford, and I think he made the right proactive decision on that one, going from what would have been the last place team in the league to first place. So it's called a good business decision. Also, I'm sure he's grateful for the opportunity Brantford gave him to begin. And he didn't come in the IBL as a big name, but it did not take him long to establish himself as one of the better players in the IBL, especially when it comes to his speed.
The 2-strike pitch is in the dirt, and Morello lays off. Right now, the Welland Jackfish are lined up to play the Brantford Red Sox in the first round of the IBL playoffs, although London Majors are tied with them, and those 2 teams, it'll be a dogfight to see who can play Brantford.
London is closing in, opening their first game of the doubleheader against the Panthers this afternoon, so London W, if not 2 London W today, followed by a Jackfish loss. Really flip things, but obviously the Jackfish loses this game a lot, still has to happen.
Hernandez puts one in the dirt. This time it was about 3 feet in front of home plate.
Brings up a full count. You just don't want to walk Gio Morello because, again, that walk can easily turn into a triple, if not definitely a double with his speed. And it brings up Justin Gideon, who obviously can give the Jackfish a lead with 1 swing of the bat.
The Maple Leafs and Barrie Baycats are tied for 4th place in the Intercounty Baseball League. Here's a ball, a high chopper hit on the ground. Damon Topley, and it takes a funny bounce and gets by him. That'll probably go as an infield single for Gianfranco Morello.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a tough one, right? I mean, it looked like it was going to be – that was a tough play no matter the ballpark, just given how high it was hit and Morello's speed coming down the first baseline, but a tough play, and it brings up Justin Gideon, who can now give the Jackfish the lead with 1 swing.
Just to finish up that point on the Barrie Baycats and Toronto Maple Leafs, although Barrie and Toronto are tied, Toronto does have 2 games in hand on the Baycats, and as this IBL season comes to a close, those are really big games in hands as well.
And that Baycat schedule, I mean,
throw to first base, it gets away down the line, and this could be more than 1 extra base for Gianfranco Morello. He cruises into 3rd, and now this is going to be a tough task for Franklin Hernandez with the 2, 3, 4 hitters coming up and trying to hold Morello at 3rd base with just 1 out.
And what makes it so tough is that, again, what's likely now to be a second run for the Jackfish in this game. It'd be 3 in total, but 2 of the runs as they put on Justin Gideon, which is obviously a no-brainer decision. Although that's tough because when you walk him,
that's the go-ahead run.
It's a go-ahead run, and he's going to steal second base with ease now because they're not going to throw down to second because otherwise that can allow Morello to score from 3rd. So that's actually an interesting decision by the Maple Leafs. Obviously, Justin Gideon is definitely the biggest threat with his bat, but Nicholson's more than capable of now getting the Jackfish to the lead with a base hit. Should Gideon steal second base, but 2 runs from the Leafs now likely to come due to bad throws from their defense.
Let's see if it pays off. Squaring to bunt is Nicholson, and that's interesting. He takes, looks like he was inside. Justin Gideon has stolen 6 bases, or 8 bases this season.
To me, he's definitely taken off here.
Throw to first base, and that one's right on the money from Franklin Hernandez.
I probably would have taken my chances with Gideon because, again, even now, you're stepping the force out at least at first base or second base with Nicholson, but the odds of turning a double play on him is not high. So, interesting decision. Let's see if it pays off.
Trying to bunt once again and taking outside is Nicholson. Count now 2-0, and now it's a hitter's count for one of the best in Welland Jackfish lineup.
And nobody is up in that Maple Leafs bullpen, so Hernandez this inning is going to take this one home one way or another.
Brandon Nicholson looking to tie this game up or maybe more. Takes in the dirt 3-0.
And now if you're Gideon, you're not going anywhere on this pitch. No question he's not going to run 3-0. So
this did not look like a dangerous situation until that pickoff throw was errant down the line and allowed the runner to get to 3rd base with 1 out. Pitch is in there, strike 1. Brandon Nicholson, the native of Orchard Park, New York. 1997 born player. There goes Justin Gideon, and a fake throw down to second base, and just as you predicted, Maple Leafs will not throw.
You throw that baseball, it's a tie game. Now, it might be worth it because if you throw Gideon, at least you have 2 out and bases empty and game's tied. Now they're a base hit away from taking the lead. So, again, that was an interesting decision just because of Gideon's speed. That was Matt Hildebrand. Go ahead, but interesting call.
Nicholson swinging, he fouls it straight back, and now it's a 3-2 count to the 3-hitter for the Welland Jackfish.
The entire Leafs defense is coming in, but once again, I think that's advantage Jackfish. They have so many professional bats in this lineup. They can easily find a way to just squeak one past the Leafs infield and clear the bases here with at least a base hit.
Sam Cocker's on deck with 20 or 32 RBIs. Here's the 3-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. A huge strikeout for Franklin Hernandez. And now he's just one batter away from getting out of this inning.
That was pitch number 19 for Hernandez. So a guy that has some starting, upside. Pitch count's not really an issue in terms of him being taxed, but now the number one focus is here is on Sam Cocker, and he can't throw to third base and try to get a pick off or throw to second base and try that. He just has to focus on batters at bat. No pass balls, no wild pitches, and let Cocker beat you one way or another.
Sam Cocker, top 10 in the league in RBIs. He's got 2 big ones out there at second and third. Justin Gideon has fantastic speed coming from second base as well.
A base hit with him running on contact, given there's 2 outs, is absolutely a 4-3 Jackfish lead. There's no question.
Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike on Sam Cocker. 4 home runs on the season as well.
Do that too. All he needs is a base hit here, but you can do that as well.
Cocker takes low, 2-1.
And to me, right now, obviously you have to make sure this ball doesn't get past you, but you have to go slider away, right? The wipeout pitch for Hernandez is that slider away, and you got to force Cocker to yank one to right.
There's the breaking ball outside corner. He swings and misses. First strike 3. Franklin Hernandez strikes out the side and gets out of it once again. And the Toronto Maple Leafs pull their Houdini act of their own with runners on second and third and 1 out. 3-2 lead for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Thomas West and Ryan Eakin. This is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. New pitcher in the game for the Welland Jackfish is Chris Bowato, and he has, well, the toughest task you could have in the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup to lead off an inning. It's the 1-2-3. Jose Venezio, then Justin Mara. Pitch in the dirt on the first one.
But this is the correct, move as a manager of a team. It's playing the odds. Switch hitter, lefty, 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 lefty. Up for the Maple Leafs this inning. Bowato, the lefty, who's been great against lefties, comes in. I want to say lefties too many more times, so I'll throw it back to you.
Here's a ball hit down the line, and it's foul by Jose Venezio. Chris Bowato has not just been great against lefties. He's been great against pretty much everyone this season. An ERA in the mid-twos.
And he was a guy that, it took him a while to become a guy in this league because for the longest time he'd come into a game and he'd get absolutely lit up inning after inning back in that 2017, 2018, 2019 range. But he's now a guy here, and with Welland that is really lights out for them. So again, he pitched a complete game against the Maple Leafs, albeit in a loss back in I think it was earlier this month. So a really important piece for the Jackfish.
Jose Venezio fouls off the ball that might have hit him in the foot.
Yeah, that was gonna be ball 3, and obviously 2-2 instead of 3-1 is a pretty massive difference for Bowato, who has success against this Leafs lineup just because of the fact that he's a soft throwing lefty, and it's not exactly a secret that the Leafs struggle against soft throwing lefties, with all their best bats being lefties, especially until Marcus Connect comes back to the Maple Leafs.
Chris Bowato, 258 opponent's batting average. There was a huge swing and a miss by Jose Venezio. An ERA of 2.87 and a whip that's right around 1 at 1.25.
He generates a lot of soft contacts and really force some really ugly swings and misses.
Venezio hits one in the air to center field. This one's dropping, but coming in and making the catch is the center fielder, Gianfranco Morello, and there's one away.
And that Leafs bullpen is empty, and this is always a good example as to why, you take regular season stats, and you obviously, especially on the broadcast, you want to apply them to the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. Right. So, in the playoffs, this team, or the regular season, this team had this many wins and this many losses, but the reality is this was a playoff game. Number 41's in this ball game for the Maple Leafs. No, and it's not even a debate. It's like, do you bring Dustin Richardson out for the ninth inning? So, what happens in the regular season is not what you see in the playoffs. And an unorthodox way of managing this game for the Maple Leafs today with their bullpen day, but that's what you have to do sometimes during the season.
Justin Mara is the batter. 1 out. The Toronto Maple Leafs are looking for some insurance, leading 3-2 over the Welland Jackfish as that pitch is outside to Mara. 2-0.
Let's see if Justin Mara swinging for the fences of this at bat. How great and how important an insurance run be for the Maple Leafs.
Oh, it would be massive, especially considering the power in the lineup. Hitting power, that is, for the Welland Jackfish.
Mara's looking to the heavens on that one. It could have been up 3-0. The count says 2-1 because he tried getting out of the way for ball 3, and it hits his knob as Chris Nagorski is up in that Maple Leafs bullpen.
And as we've mentioned several times, Nagorski's ERA is by no means sparkling coming out of that bullpen, but he is showing up when it's mattered.
Should be interesting. Hernandez didn't really get into too much trouble that inning, intentional walk and all that. I'd probably bring him out in the 9th inning.
Mara swings and misses. Strike 2. Full count now on a Leafs catcher. Chris Bowato trying to hold the Maple Leafs right here. Check swing, doesn't go around, ball 4. Justin Mara heads down to first base, and here's Jordan Castaldo, who is limping his way to the finish in this baseball game. 0 for 4 so far, but the power and the hitting ability is still there for Jordan Castaldo, even though he is recovering from an injury.
Yeah, there's no question this guy's playing that 60, 70%. I mean, I asked him before the game, are you playing? He said, we'll give it a go. And he's giving it a go, and he's lost the entire game. But you can definitely tell that he's also not at 100%. But that's still a bad man up on the plate, right? I mean, that's still a guy that can open this game up with one swing of the bat.
Lefty be lefty and takes a strike over the outside corner that he didn't like.
I mean, this is a guy that tore his bicep in Game 5 against London, and he went 4 for 4 in that game. He had on base each time. He almost having the team on his back to try to get a championship. So this is the guy that can definitely play through some pain.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch of him and Sean Riley. That one's just outside 1-1.
Probably one of the better lineups to never get a championship. I mean, there's him, it was Riley, it was Mccaskey, it was Connect, Lawson, Justin Morrow. One of the great 1-6s in the 100-plus year history of the IBL.
They were the best offense in the Inter-County Baseball League, and it wasn't even close. Pitches outside 2-1. Talk about the small ballpark all you want.
Oh, yeah.
They really did it all, but it was the pitching that they didn't have.
Yeah.
This year, the lineup isn't as strong as it was in that championship team, but the pitching actually is better.
The pitching, if they had this pitcher set up last season, they may have lost 2 or 3 games all season.
Castaldo hits one high in the air. This one's to left field. The wind is knocking it down. This could be a tough play. It hits the chalk line, and that's going to be a single down the line for Jordan Castaldo, who gets his first hit back after the injury. And the wind really just pulled that one over, and the baseball gods just kissed the line. And now there's 2 on with 1 out for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You can only control what you can control. That's what a lot of guys say in sport, across obviously life and all that. And Castaldo, he's been grinding today, but just like that, he pulls the ball the other way and he comes up with his first hit of the game. And it wasn't typical fashion of hard exit velocity off the bat or anything like that, but it's a base hit. Now, to be the Leafs, you can't keep leaving base runners on base. So Lawson has to bring in at least 1 run here.
So we've left the conversation about Penny's player of the game hanging.
Yes.
As well. So I think it's between Justin Mara and Damon Topley right now, who are both 3 for 4. Mara just walked. Salazzo pops one up. This might get out of play, and it will.
Yeah, one of the guys I might vouch for, just because, he hasn't won it, but has also been excellent, is Dylan Jacober. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I that's a good one too, actually. 5 innings pitched for Dylan Jacober. Did give up 6 hits, but just allowed the 2 runs, and that was
a rip just over 1 against this Welland lineup. He's in this. This could be a tough, heated debate. Win or loss in this game in terms of what we do. We might need a peacemaker to help us out.
Here's the ball hit on the ground. A tough play for the second baseman. Throw on to first. They'll get just 1. That was a fantastic stop on a tough hop by Dupuy, and he goes to the first baseman and gets the out. Now 2 runners on second and third for Aiden Mccaskey. Now Aiden Mccaskey with 1 swing could put his name on the player of the game as well.
No question. It's also a tough matchup, lefty, but with 2 runs on base, a base hit definitely brings in 1 run. It'd probably take a ball in the gap to get Castaldo when he's lugging around. But this is a massive opportunity for the Leafs to add to this lead and get it within a bloop and a blast of just tying the game instead of a bloop and a blast giving the Jackfish a lead, because boy, oh boy, the Jackfish have power coming up in the top of the 9th inning with Matt Hillenbrand due out 3rd.
Mccaskey hits one in the air. This one not particularly deep. Out goes the shortstop. It's dropping and it falls. 1 run comes in to score. Here comes Jordan Castaldo. He will score. And the Toronto Maple Leafs get 2 huge runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. And you could tell that Smybert was having some trouble with the wind at shortstop. And that is a 2-run gift. They lead 5-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And they needed that. I mean, of all the mistakes, defensive miscues they've had in this game, especially early in the game, and also yesterday where it was an absolute disaster defensive, they needed that to even out, and that's what happens. That's baseball. It all evens out through the course of a season, and boy, oh boy, did it in that spot, and a massive hit for Mccaskey.
So now that's 5 runs on 13 hits for the Toronto Maple Leafs this game after they got just 1 against London a night ago. Damon Topley fouls the first pitch off.
And obviously, if Damon Topley comes up with a hit here, he locks it in, I think. And this is the matchup that Damon Topley likes. I mean, look at his numbers. That's not exactly a bold take. He's a guy that's a right-handed bat facing a slop-throwing lefty. That's where he shines his best. And he always jokes that's what's always helping him get up to as many hits as he's had. Second all-time in hits in the IBL. He always jokes that he was that one guy that was able to hit Paul's ball jerk, the ex-Blue Jay. He was so nasty against left-handed bats with that slider. But Topley always said he was able to have decent numbers against them.
Topley takes just outside. It's 1-1.
And a base hit here on contact, obviously, so Mccaskey's running, given there's 2 out. Average, perhaps plus speed. at second base for the Maple Leafs.
Topley hits one in the air. This one's to left field.
Look
This
at
one's
these.
hooking towards the line, and coming over is Justin Gideon to make a running catch and bangs up against the fence. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are gifted a couple of big runs from the Welland Jackfish shortstop on the pop-up by Aiden Mccaskey, and now lead 5-2 over the first-place team in the Intercounty Baseball League. And Chris Nagorski has 3 runs to work with, trying to lock down the save for the Toronto Maple Leafs. From Thomas West and Ryan Eakin, this is Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube, presented by TD Canada Trust. Welcome back to Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball on YouTube. 5-2 lead for the Maple Leafs over the Welland Jackfish, and it is not Chris Nagorski on the mound. It's Franklin Hernandez who comes back out for his second inning of work after striking out 3 in the last inning. He delivers a first pitch strike.
And I think that's the right call. You should bring him out, see what you can do. You always have Nagorski if need be in that bullpen. But it's not easy. You're facing lefty, righty, lefty, and
here's the ball hit on the ground. Jose Venezio gobbles it up, throws onto first base, and there's one away.
You can't underestimate how massive an out that is, because if that runner gets on, this runner gets on, you bring the tie and run up for Matt Hildebrandt, and we all know what Matt Hildebrandt can do with 1 swing on the bat. So anything that Hildebrandt does now would be meaningless to the end result of this ball game.
So James Smybert grounds out to the shortstop, and now it's the third baseman, Ethan Hunt. Hunt is 0 for 3 with a strikeout this afternoon and swings and misses at the first pitch from Franklin Hernandez, who looks like he might be dialed in on the mound.
Well, we've seen flashes from Hernandez where he's been absolutely filthy for the Maple Leafs out of their bullpen. And I mean, hey, the plan was for him to come in and be that number 2, number 3 starting pitcher. But if the end result is him being a wipeout righty, you can live with that too, to have a bullpen of, Dylan Jacober and Franklin Hernandez and Dustin Richardson and Chris Nagorski and Sam Green come playoff time.
1 strike on Hunt. Fouls it off, 0-2. It's worth noting as well, the wind is howling in from center field.
This tent not blowing over is a great job by you, because I had to put up the tent myself, not myself, but with a couple of guys in the game that you missed earlier in the season, and that tent ended up down behind home plate.
Over the inside corner, strike 3 called, the 4th strikeout for Franklin Hernandez, and now the Welland Jackfish are down to their final out. And here comes Matt Hildebrandt.
That slider is absolutely nasty. You can see it. There's no question that, especially against right-handed bats, how lights out he is. And it brings up Hildebrandt. Honestly, they need 2 base runners just get the tie to run to the plate now.
Hildebrandt 1 for 3 with a single through the right side. He was also robbed by Jose Venezio. in his last at-bat.
And the Leafs, they're not shifting as much now, and you can't really blame them because he's right now. Hildebrand will happily just take a bunt hit if need be, right? Just get on base. That's all that matters for him right now is getting on base. Whether it's a home run or whether it's a walk doesn't mean anything. And Castro begins to really get animated here in the Maple Leafs dugout. I want him to call a game behind home plate. If regular season, the last game of the season, it doesn't really affect the standings, just let him go out there and do his thing.
That won't happen.
I'll send a recommendation to the commissioner. I'll allow for an exception.
2-0 to Hildebrand. Inside 3-0.
Maybe get him up on the broadcast, though.
That'd be great.
Yeah. He may enjoy it. I don't know. We can be on like a 10-second delay. I think we can do that.
No.
Okay.
Right down the middle, strike one. Now 3-1 on Hildebrand.
And if you're Hernandez, go right back into that pitch. Right down the plate. If he hits it out, he hits it out. But who knows? Maybe he might hit a line drive to the first baseman instead. At this point, you're just counting outs.
Here's the 3-1. This one's hit in the air a mile high. Out goes Jose Venezio. He's got to deal with the wind, but he stays composed and makes the catch. And the Toronto Maple Leafs knock off the first-place team in the Intercounty Baseball League in the Jackfish at Dominico Field by a final score of 5-2.
That was a loud bunch of last night after they won that game, and also they knew they would be playing for another game today. And this again, the Leafs really wanted to win, given what happened. Also, both losers that were chasing them out anytime they lose a game in the fashion they did, and a big victory here. And what a job by the pitching staff. And man, we've been biased for, but I think it's time to give Penny's player of the game to a pitcher.
Dylan Jacober is our Penny's player of the game for this one. Part of the 5-2 win. Pitched 5 innings, just allowed the 2 runs, and that is a massive part, bridging the gap from the opener to the bullpen guys for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Without his performance, this could have been a very different outcome.
There's something about Sundays and bullpen days that the Maple Leafs absolutely loved. We saw it earlier in the season, a couple of weeks back against Hamilton, where we saw Sam Green also be the opener in that game. And man, the Maple Leafs are now the Tampa Bay Rays of the IBL. They love themselves some bullpen days, and it paid off here after a great opening by Sam Green.
It sure did. A 5-2 win for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the Welland Jackfish, and defending that 13-1 loss they took a night ago, but this will take a much better taste in the mouths of the Toronto Maple Leafs. From Thomas West and Ryan Eakin here, a Maple Leafs win at Dominico Field. This is Toronto Maple Leafs baseball presented by TD Canada Trust.